Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Ponytails Podcast. I'm your host, Andres Gamboa. Thank you for being here. If this is your first episode, welcome. Let me explain a little bit about what we do and who we talk to. Our guests are all alumni of an internship that was put on by Southwestern Advantage since 1868. So over 100,000 people have done this program that are still living, and our job is to go find them and talk about what they did and how the experience shaped their life going forward. During the internship, you do it in between the summers of your college years, and you go sell books door to door for 80 hours a week on straight commission, sometimes without a place to live, somewhere across the country. People do this from all over the world and all over the country, going to towns for the first time in the middle of nowhere, even. So hopefully you guys enjoy the stories that come from that. That's sort of the context. If you're listening, there are things and visual cues sometimes that pop up. Might be worth watching on Spotify or YouTube later on, or if you want to repeat. But either way that you're listening, thank you so much for being here. I just want to give a quick introduction for my guest today, Naomi Kaufman, dear friend of mine. She actually works with us on the show. She's been on one episode before. We didn't really get into like her experience as much because it was more like a special episode for Halloween. So this is the first time we've had her on from the standpoint of any other client or any other guest that we've had on the show. And so Naomi sold for 5 summers, was part of the Eagle Blitz organization. She's now working with Cardinal Senior Benefits. She sold from 17 to 21. So those were the 5 summers between 2017 and 2021, which means, part of that COVID pandemic summer. Is kind of interesting to hear about that. She went to the university, she went to Palm Beach Atlantic University and is originally from Orlando, is what she would call home. Her favorite scroll is I Will Greet This Day with Love in My Heart, which has been the favorite for the last few people we've had on the air. Number 2, I Will Greet This Day with Love in My Heart. Love it. It's beautiful stuff. When I come back, I'll be on with Naomi. Boom, shakalaka laka laka. That was stupid.
Boom,
I shouldn't have said that.
Why not? We like dance
I don't
moves.
know. But nobody's gonna see. We're just gonna see it. Go
That's
check it
not
out
very
on video.
positive. They are going to see it. They're going to watch it on Spotify and YouTube.
Or they can see me dancing at Bizzler.
Even better. That one. You got some moves, Andre, so it's a good plug.
Fun?
Good plug.
I'm no Omar Uribe, but I can get down. I can cut a bit of a rug. Small rug. But I can.
Nice. Just a little one.
Or maybe a big rug, but I don't cut it. I just kind of like leave a dent in it. You know what I'm saying? Not quite cut. Either way, come check it out on Bizzler 2023.
Jamaica.
Oh, how are you? I miss you. I miss your face.
I'm good. I miss your face too. I've been hustling and doing a lot of things since I lived back in Orlando for this calendar year that I'm living here. My family lives here, so they want to hang out all the time, which is, wonderful and great. However, it definitely adds a dent in my schedule. I texted my mom earlier this week. I was like, Mom, I'm literally hanging out with you for 10 hours this week. I know you don't really want me to go to work on Saturday, but I need to hit my stats, and I'm going to go to work on Saturday. We're already hanging out for 10 hours, so, we need to take a chill pill. But
I mean, 10 hours is a lot for anybody.
That's what I'm saying. But, moms. We love moms. Moms are the best. So
moms are the best. My mom, no offense, but my mom is better than your mom. She's cooler. I'm kidding.
I don't know about that.
My mom can beat your mom up.
Have you seen White Chicks, that movie?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, she wants to talk about mothers.
That's it right there.
Your mom is so stupid that she works out when she could go get liposuction or something. We're not sponsored by White Chicks, but we could be.
That's I miss saying that kind of stuff. We've said it more recently and I've really enjoyed it, but it's such a fun thing to say.
It really is.
Oh man. Speaking of sponsors, I'm kidding. No, that's gonna pop up later in the episode. Stick around for those. Anyway, okay, all right. So let's dive in. Speaking of sponsors, Cardinal Senior Benefits. So you have been working with CBS or CSB. I said that, but I can't spell. It's my second language. CSB. From Florida,
Like
how does that work? How the heck does it? I mean, I thought they were in Texas. How are you able to
they
start
are in
over there?
Texas. They are, but they have agents all over the United States. So basically
Oh,
just the way it works is you get your license, your insurance license for your state that you work in, and then you just go to work in your state. So, and then like I have my Texas license too because I went and hung out with Ben for a few weeks in Texas, and so I worked over there. So whatever state you go to, you just have to apply for the license there and pay for it.
that's exciting.
So,
That's
yeah.
fun. So now you can go work wherever in the country, essentially. Just pay the fee and get to work.
Yep.
Um, as someone that's fairly new, what's it like? I mean, we've talked to people. Pedro Vega, Nick Dale was the oldest of the oldest that's been on it. Not from age wise, but from he started the company. So
Yeah.
like, from someone more new to the perspective, how's it been? Are you having a good time? Has it been hard in some places that you didn't expect? Has it been easy in other places you didn't expect? Let's cut that onion.
I don't think I had many expectations. I like to kind of like, if I'm describing it to friends that sold books before, I'm like, it's like books, except way less hours, way more money, and it's talking to old people instead of young people with kids.
So the ponies that buy cookbooks.
Yeah, basically. Except they just also need life insurance, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like very similar vibe of like driving around in your car for the day and popping in and because I think I'm the one that's door knocked the most in the company, I think.
Oh, interesting.
So I actually haven't been setting appointments at all because Quentin created this new program called the LEAD program because, most people when they leave college or they're trying to like recruit some like younger people too, but most people don't have like 8 to 10 grand just sitting in their bank account as like a cushion because it's really good to have a
Right.
cushion in the job because sometimes people cancel or you need to buy leads or they're just like different business expenses. So it's like you don't want to stress yourself out by only having a certain amount in your account. So Quentin started this thing called the lead program in order to be able to buy people's leads, and he just takes like a certain percentage of your commission. So that's actually what I've been doing. So it's helped my expenses remain extremely low. So I'm not having to buy the leads right now, and I'm gonna start buying leads probably in about a month. Um,
That's sick.
but yeah, no, it's kind of cool because that way it's just like being able to provide more opportunity to younger people that normally wouldn't be able to, get into the business because they maybe just graduated college, like they have student loans typically, all that kind of stuff. But it's really honestly kind of chill. Like it's funny because sometimes I'll be like, "Wah, I don't want to go to work," but then I remember I work like 33 to 40 hours a week and am producing like 3 to 10 grand a week. And then I'm like, Naomi, most people don't make that much money.
Not in that amount
And
of time.
most people work more hours.
Yeah.
So it's
That's wild.
yeah, yeah. I think like anyone that like did okay in books and by okay maybe sold like 2,500 units or above for a summer like would have a pretty easy transition going into Cardinal.
That's that's bananas. It's crazy. People don't understand, like especially people who might be listening who maybe are selling books. It's when you first leave Southwestern, you think you make so much money at books, and then you start really understanding the
Yep.
multiplier. We'll just call it that
Yeah.
357x for a quarter of the work. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or a third of the work. Um, let's talk about these leads because I feel like that's something that blows people's minds if they haven't been, even if like they went into an industry where they are no longer knocking on doors cold calling necessarily. Leads are such a unique aspect of the sales process because it eliminates prospecting for you. So um, Quentin was telling us a little bit about how they work, right? Basically, it's mail-in leads, and there's also electronic leads. But long story short, people mail in and say, "Hey, come to my house. This is my life. This is my pre-approach. Here's where I live. Stop in." What was it like for you in when you came in? Because I feel like that would blow my mind as I just got out of the book field, and all of a sudden, Mrs. Jones is telling me where she lives and to come to our house. Was that weird, or what? Or did you assimilate into that pretty easily?
I didn't necessarily think it was weird because it made sense that that's something that people do. I've actually been using the quote unquote crappier leads because Quentin, because he buys the leads, he doesn't buy the nice direct
Right.
mail
Those are
leads,
expensive.
quote unquote nice. I think there's not really a huge difference. It's kind of like how turf matters, but it doesn't at the same time. So it's like the leads you get like matter, but at the same time, like you can still produce with anything, you know?
Yeah.
The only difference is people just like respond to an email that they get in their email and then they put in their information. They're like, come to my house, please. And then half the time they forget that they did that and they're like, I didn't do anything. And then it's kind of like a little bit colder at the
Mm.
door. Um, but I mean, coming from straight cold calling for 80 hours a week, it's like, oh, okay, if someone's a little bit cold and you're like, well, you said that you wanted like $5,000 in coverage for your beneficiary, Danny Gamboa. Like, does that
And then all of a sudden,
sound familiar? And then they're like,
name.
yeah, because they write in all this information. So it's like, they didn't like, you don't, some people are like, well, you can get anything off the internet. Like, that's like one of the objections people will give me. And I'm like, really? Well, is that who you picked for your beneficiary? Because I don't think you get that off the internet. Like, da, da, da. Like, come on, man. But it's just a different like demographic of people. So like learning how to communicate effectively with people above the age of 50 as well. So it's just a different
Yeah.
demographic, but that's
That's
kind of
literally the
any.
next level after Southwestern prospects is that's the opposite demographic.
Yeah, but I mean, like the leads, like I wouldn't. I mean, with what I've heard, not to throw any companies under the bus, but FFL is probably like the biggest, most popular one here in the United States, I believe. And just hearing about the leads that people get, and like some of the sob stories or pain stories that people were telling in sales school, like the Cardinal sales school, I was just like, holy crap, I'm really glad that I didn't like get involved in that first. I mean, I only really got involved with Cardinal really because of ponytails, because they sponsored ponytails. And they're like,
Nice.
you work like 20, 30 hours a week and make like 150K. And I was like, if you suck. And I was like, well, I can suck. Like
Yeah,
I
I'll
can,
suck for that.
I'll suck for
I'll s-
that.
I'll suck so bad for that.
I'll suck so bad for 150K. So, and so I was like, maybe I'll do a little bit better than sucking, but at least if I just suck, then things are
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh, it's brilliant that and I tell me a little bit about the culture. I've asked this from all the people that have worked there, Sean, Greta, right? But after talking to Nick, he's so I don't want to say Dan Moorish, but he's got like a chilling, calming vibe where it's like, yeah, I'll work for you, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like and so I imagine that because of that and because of who Pedro is, the culture that they built around the company has to be pretty great. What have you experienced with that?
Um, so I only really got to hang out with Nick once, and that was at my sales school. As far as card culture goes, I it's nice because they have this morning call every single morning, Monday through Friday, that people can hop on, and that's kind of like how they work on like cultivating people, like to kind of keep people involved because again, people are all over the country. So there are people in like
All right.
Washington State, there's me in Florida State. I kind of like it, like being kind of on my own in Florida because just my experience at Southwestern, I drank like a lot of Kool-Aid and I got like really deep into it and all these things. And so I was very, very tentative, like doing something sales again because I was like, well, I don't want to get I don't want to feel as if I'm just getting too deep in something to where like I lose myself in the sauce or like don't, whatever, right? And so I was
The
very
same thing.
tentative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like I feel like Southwestern are very like high school culture, like small group, like small town, like everyone knows each other. It's kind of like
Clicky.
it can be, or just like not always the most uplifting conversations. Um, it's masked as uplifting conversations sometimes. However, it can be not that way, which is kind of like how most of the world is. I think with Cardinal, it's just much more adult. It's like you're responsible for your own business, and like we're here to help you and hang out with you if you want that. And we like to have fun in the meantime. See you twice a year at our meetings that we have, and make sure to be on the morning call and answer your uplines calls. But you're an adult, and I actually really appreciate that because I like didn't want too much. I think it's like a really healthy balance of like being able to have like a culture and build friendships. Like I've already been able to, like I'm gonna go follow this guy Lucas Holland in January. And obviously I've gotten a lot closer to Sean, being able to work for Cardinal
Mhm.
because um Sean and I have always been kind of like friends on Snapchat and like kind of chit chatted here and there, like random phone calls sometimes, or if he came to West Palm Beach for like a Tony Robbins conference, we'd hang out. But it's given me like more of an excuse to, as an extrovert, like kidnap him as a friend. Because
Nice.
us extroverts, we like to kidnap people as our
It's a
friends.
gift and a curse.
It's a gift and a curse. So I'm really thankful for, and honestly, working with Quentin has been so much fun. He has like very similar dark humor as me, and it's just like awesome. Like one day he was just like texting me, he was like, "Yeah, Naomi, like money's like food. Not everyone gets it." I was just like, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" He was like, "I figured
I,
someone as messed up as you would get it." And I was like,
I gotta
"You're
go knock on
correct."
the door.
So yeah, we just like it's really fun the relationship that I've gotten to cultivate. And even like Jessica, it's been really awesome. She's actually helped me out with like physical therapy because my back has been messed up since I sold books. And just being in the car actually really aggravates it a lot. And so I don't think I can do Cardinal forever, unfortunately, because of my back problems. And it's not like my end goal for my life. I'm using it more as a stepping stone to create like enough overhead for like what I want to go do later.
But the beauty is that the career aspect of it, if you wanted to, is there for you just because it's a pleasant enough place that a lot of people have made it a career. But at the same time, it can be just a place where you're gonna be like, I'm gonna go make a shit ton of money
For a
because
minute, yeah.
I want to be a singer or whatever, like whatever else you want to go in your life, and you can genuinely create that cushion. We were talking to Dave Rosen um, earlier this season, and he was saying like when he wanted to go into politics after books before he went to work for the Clintons, there was like a little section there. It was like there's no question that rich kids are the ones that end up in politics because they have the ability to have the financial security to just be like, Mom, I'm not going to work. And so he went back to sell books. He's like, I sold 10,000 units in 10 weeks, had a cushion, and then I started getting into politics, and I used that money to just really like eke it out until I started making money in politics. But that sounds like this kind of thing too, where it's like if you want to go do something else in your life, this is a great place for you to just people are going to die every day, so everyone's going to need insurance, and you can just go and make it with it what you want. I mean, it's shit. Even if you did it part time.
Oh, well, that's the other thing too, is like now that I have my license, and I found out that real estate and final expense are actually the two largest wealth building licenses in the United States. So that was a cool fact that Austin Souders told me. Shout out to Austin, love his face.
Austin's G.
Yeah, but now that like I've kind of learned how to do it, I think it's like something that like if you really invest maybe like 6 months to, maybe 2 or 3 years, but I think if you at least invest like 6 heavy months into like learning how to get like decent at the job, and then like I don't think I'll ever get rid of my license. Like, yeah, it takes like a couple $100 a year, like every 2 years to renew your license. But like say like I'm a mom and I'm like 28 and like I need to go like shit out 4 grand. Like I'll be like, all right, I'll go sell for like 2 days. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
exactly right.
it's just like I think it's like a really good tool to have in like the tool belt in like your arsenal, because it's like, oh my gosh, like we just found out that like we need to get a new roof. Well, okay, well let me go to work for a week. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I think it's a just a good backup to have if like something's going on, or maybe you want to like make a higher investment, or maybe like you're gonna miss your max on your Roth for like the year by a couple grand, like just go to work for like 2 or 3 days and you'll probably make enough.
See, that's what I like about you, Naomi, is you are ahead of your years in a lot of ways. Like most people don't think about it. And I know Southwestern teaches you to kind of do it this way, but not a lot of book kids even follow through with doing that kind of stuff that you're thinking. You're like my brother in that where him and Aisha both, where they're thinking way ahead with every decision that they make today. And even just like what you're saying right now, that's really impressive that you think that way because most people don't. And so good for you.
Thanks. I
Appreciate,
try. I've also
appreciate
found out that I thought I would know a lot more about running a business leaving Southwestern, and now that I left, I'm like, holy crap, I knew absolutely nothing. I'm really thankful for the experience that I've gotten to have with you over the past year and change now, and even like working with John Stewart last year and helping him with his music stuff. And I think on a larger level with Cardinal, I've learned how to like on a larger level actually run a business because like you're kind of running a business in books, but like
there's a lot more to
I
it.
have to do a lot more paperwork now.
Yeah.
I actually pay someone to do my paperwork. Like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy.
So yeah. And so money wise, and it just seemed like it was going to be the leads, which I wanted to go back to that because you mentioned this, and that's another thing that maybe Southwestern people don't understand is leads. That's kind of like you're saying, basically, imagine you show up to a town to sell books, you send a postcard out to every single family that has kids in school or young children, asking them if they struggle with any of the following subjects, yes or no. Would you be interested in hearing about a product that might help you with all those subjects, yes or no, name and address, and then you just waited at your HQ for like a couple of weeks, and then you got in the mail like 700 people returning that postcard saying, come to my house, here's where I live. Hi, are you the mom of the house? Yes, and you've heard of you. Great.
Yeah. Is this your handwriting,
let's-
Miss Betty? Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
handwriting.
yeah.
You got a few minutes? It's again, you're not selling every single lead that you sit down with, but the leads is kind of what interested me because that kind of anxiety feeling that I talked about at Southwestern and the anxiety I had with Family Heritage, I honestly didn't think that was going to go away, but it has. It's gone away when I sold. I still had a little bit of anxiety, but after that first knock, it goes away. But much less anxiety every week because I know I have fresh leads coming in. And so even if this day doesn't work out, I know I got typically our agents will get anywhere from 25 to 50 leads a week of people that they can go and call on.
I want people to understand what it is that you do, how you do it, why you do it, all of the good stuff. You hear a lot about coaching. You hear a lot about life coach, sales coach, business coach, yada, yada coach.
Man, I think just to start off, like what it isn't, it's not training. It's not showing up and having somebody talk at you for 45 minutes to an hour. And like the way that I look at it is we're all human beings. We're all broken in some capacity. And we all know a lot of the people that I work with, they know what they're supposed to be doing. They're just not executing on it, or they're not doing it as intentionally as they should be. Or they're just not focused. They have like 15 different goals or 15 different things that they're trying to balance or do. And because of that, like they're not as intentional as they should be at home, or they're not as intentional as they should be at work, and they're not picking up the phone and calling people. And it's like having a personal trainer for your business. It's having intention on why we do what we do every day and creating clarity and helping to build our lives and our calendars around what our future goals and intentions are.
That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show.
So
That's how it works. And that's not uncommon that people, you listen to the show enough. It's not uncommon that people say that when they leave. They're like,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew the gas to make any business run is revenue, which is sales. So so you learn the most important parts of it, but it's not the only important part of running a business, right? Creating inventory, creating legal side of things, accounting side of things that you have to handle on your side, right? You got to make sure things, especially in an industry like yours, there's a lot of legal involved. There's like a lot of, you're fucking with people's like wealth, right? can't just be like, oh, I misplaced that mufu. No, it doesn't work. It's actually like you have to have your shit on straight.
Yeah.
For you to succeed. And so, damn, that's really sweet. I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that. What is some of the biggest things you've learned? You mentioned this. What are some of the things that you've learned that, like, as you look back in the last year and a half, you're like, okay, damn, I needed to learn that. I didn't know that.
I think like you hear a lot of people talking about investing and like you hear a lot of people talking about the things to do maybe in Southwestern, but like you don't actually understand how everything works. Like I've been in the process for the past probably 3 weeks talking to like multiple financial advisors, like different mutual funds, all these different things. And I'm like, man, like what's the correct route to go? Like there's so many routes you can take, you know? And you hear things and then it's like, well, you don't want to just be average, and Southwestern teaches you like, well, if you sell books, you're not average. But like one person more told me that like Southwestern is a great place to also be average. You know, it's like just because you sell books like doesn't mean that like you're gonna make it in life. There are plenty rookies that sell for a year or like 2 years. I have friends that sold for 7 years, and I wouldn't necessarily say that like they're crushing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, you know, or 5 years or whatever. It's like it really depends on like I don't know, like your attitude, I think. And it's like Southwestern teaches all these really, really great things, but there's just a lot more. And you gotta like keep going. You have to keep growing. You have to keep investing in yourself. You have to keep reading books. Like I think I still think that Southwestern is probably the best thing a college student can do with their summertime. But you have to keep going. Like it's not just like, oh, you sold books and now you're gonna be like rich and famous and all these things, and you know, just your businesses will plop in your lap and like you'll just have endless amounts of money. Like you have to take things that you learned and apply them and learn new things and apply those new things too, you know?
Yeah.
So
Oh man, I like that. It's easy to be average in Southwestern.
just as much as it is in the outside world too, you know?
Yeah. Best internship in the country. Not always the best career. How I like to say it. Best internship in the country, I don't think is questionable. I mean,
Unless you're working with
it.
Elon Musk and you're an engineer. That's probably
But even
the best
still,
internship.
it's like, I mean, even still, like, I don't know. I want to be learning business lessons from him right now. He's just lost a shit ton of shares for Tesla.
Yeah, but like,
but you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I believe in Elon, man.
Just tomorrow's dude.
Well, like I even was recruiting this one rookie one year, and he was like, "I want to be an engineer. I want to work on particle assimilators." And then he got an internship in Switzerland to work on particle assimilators
at the particle. Yeah, that lab. That's crazy. That's like as high as it can go.
And I was like, you know, I want you
race.
to hold your commitment, and I want you to keep selling. Like, I want you to come out for the summer and sell books, but like, that's kind of your dream. So like, I get it. Like, go work on particle assimilators, you know?
Go. Nobody's gonna fault you for that. And if they do, those are the people that we're talking about. Because there's probably someone listening going, yeah, but still, can you imagine working there and having sold books? Like they would still argue for Southwestern that was the right choice for that person at that point. There's someone listening that's going to be like, he should have still sold books. You're the person we're talking about.
Yeah, you. Whoever you are, we're calling you out.
Yeah, you picking up that weight at the gym. Yeah, go collect names.
Go collect names.
I'm sure there's somebody like that. That's just
oh, that's the other thing with Cardinal. Like, you're not off schedule. That blows my mind. Like, I can go pee at gas stations. I can go pee at Publix. I like work in the same county my parents live in sometimes, and like sometimes I'll go pee at their house, and I'll make myself a cup of coffee, and then I'll go back to the field, and like I'm not off schedule. It's like,
wow.
I know, crazy.
That sounds naughty.
I know. It feels a little
bad.
Like, I know, I'm really bad. But like, I remember following Greta. She's like, "Isn't this nice? We can go to the bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Let's talk about the psychology of that you celebrate going to a gas station bathroom. Let's talk about like what that implies all around. Maybe we haven't got into this. Off schedule is when you're not directly talking to a family. When you're selling books door to door, if you're not talking to a family, directly talking to a family, or on your way directly to be talking to a family, that's the definition, right? Isn't that?
Mm-hmm. If
Then
you're
that
not
means
with
you're off
Miss Jones or
schedule.
on your way to see Miss Jones, then you're off schedule. You need to pee in their houses because you need to be with Miss Jones, which is fine. Like, I never really had a problem with being off schedule my entire book career. I went to go get a smoothie once my rookie year, and I felt so guilty. I was like sitting there and I drank like this much of my smoothie, and I was like, I can't
Oh
even
my
drink
God.
my smoothie, and I threw it away and I went back to work. I was like, I'm really bad at being off schedule. I'm really bad at being bad.
Let's go into some Southwestern shit now, because that story is just a great way to start into your experience with door to door. Now, I know we told your origin story in probably more detail in episode 63, but we also told it back then with mentality that you were going to eventually tell the story again. So just for those people who aren't going to go back and listen to episode 63, walk me through how the hell did you get recruited? How did you get involved with this in the first place? And, go through first day of school, first store, first week, first custody, because those are the funny ones when you're like, oh my God, it works.
Oh my gosh, it worked. So, excuse me,
How dare you?
this wine is making me burpy.
That's wine? That's boxed
shout,
wine?
Yeah, shout out to Kayla Curtis. She brought me this like weeks ago, and I have not drank it. And tonight just seemed like the night. So here we are.
Dude, Kayla Curtis is a beast. I'm going to take another
She's
one
the
of these
coolest.
pineapple exotic Topo Chicos and get schwasty with you.
Nice.
We're not
Perfect.
sponsored by Break, but we could be.
But we could be.
Or Topo Chico.
So Sarah Ayub was my student leader, and we were actually friends when we were babies. My mom and her mom actually met in a like health food store. So if you know Sarah or me, we're pretty into being healthy. You even have this cute little dang.
Oh, we
Where
have
are
some
the
pictures for
favorites?
this, by the way. So this might be an episode worth watching on YouTube. We're 29 minutes in. We'll have Amy throw them up on the screen. Shout out to Amy,
Here's
our
a
producer.
picture of Sarah and me when we were probably about 4.
No way.
Yeah.
Send me that. Send it to Amy so we can throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, I'll send it.
We're getting
So
the
that was
origin
Sarah and me.
story.
Yeah. So we were friends when we were babies, and then she moved away to Massachusetts, and I stayed in Florida, and then she wrote me a letter, and then we became pen pals through about 7th grade. And then
Nerds.
I know, and then we became like too cool to write letters to each other in like middle school.
I
So then
got
we stopped.
friends, okay?
Like, sorry, I can't write you a letter.
I gotta go to the football game on Friday. I can't.
Yeah, basically. And then, Snapchat and Instagram started coming out, and then I found Sarah on Instagram, and I was like, I messaged her, and it was kind of like the typical, like, oh my God, you're so pretty now. Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh, how are you?
Now.
Like, yeah. Oh, well, we were babies, whatever. So, so then she messaged me before her freshman year of college, was like, hey, I'm coming back to Florida for college. And I was like, sweet, we should hang out. So she came to UCF, and then we hung out she's a year older than me. So we hung out my senior year, her freshman year. I was like, yeah, let's hang out this summer. And she's like, oh, I have an internship. And I was like, no biggie, we'll hang out after the summer. So her internship was Southwestern, because she had already been recruited at that point. And then we hung out. She came down in the fall to hang out with me. And that winter break, like fast forward, we hung out. That winter break, my mom and her mom obviously were still friends and knew each other. And she's like, she got lunch with Sarah's mom, and she's like, did you know Sarah made like $10,000 last summer? And like, I actually moved out of my parents' house on my 18th birthday. So like halfway through my senior year of high school, just because our relationship back then like wasn't great. So I I moved out, and then I took on full financial responsibility for myself. And so that $10,000 sounded pretty nice considering I was broke. Um,
Right. Wow.
So yeah, I went to that winter break. I went and did a notebook. And for anyone that doesn't know what a notebook is, it's like a one-on-one informational session to introduce someone to the Southwestern. And I remember Sarah was like, okay, I'll pick you up because I didn't have a car. So she picked me up and I was like, okay, we're just going to go to Starbucks. We went to a Starbucks on Maria Benzeckery's side of town of Orlando, which was an hour away because she lives by Disney. And I was
Maria's
like
the
driving
best.
there and I was
Shout out
like,
to Maria.
yeah, she's so cool. I'm like, we're driving there. I'm like, how far away is this Starbucks? Like, geez, like I need to go to sleep tonight. I'm tired. And she's like, oh yeah, it's in Windermere. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, cool. So it's gonna take an hour to drive there. Then we're gonna have to drive an hour back. And apparently this thing is supposed to take an hour. So my evening just turned into 1.5 hours to 3 to 4 hours. I was like annoyed from the get-go. So we sit down. She's like, do you want coffee? And I was like, no, I don't want to order anything. I just want to get this thing over with. And so slide 5 back on the old Eagle Blitz presentation, it was this green slide. And in the top right-hand corner, it said, if you work with us for an average of 5 years, you make an average of $135,000. And I was like, oh, cool. So I can do this my entire college career. And Maria was like, well, if you get selected, that thing happened. That thing
when they try to make it sound selective.
Yeah, when they try and make it sound like a selective internship, even though it's just sales. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do it. So she keeps going through this whole notebook. Meanwhile, I'm exhausted. So I was not intrigued. I was probably this, not intrigued at all. Probably if I were recruiting me, I'd be like, is this girl into this? I don't know. And then at the end of it, she's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, I want to, I told you, I'll do it. She's like, okay, well, there's a interview process. I was like, okay, how long does it take? She's like, oh, it's a 3-day interview process. I was like, okay, fine. Give me the crap. I'll do it. I just I didn't need
I'm a
all
pony.
this. Yeah. I like to call my parents were wanted me to do it. They were unicorn parents. Actually, my mom wanted me to do it so badly. She pretended that she didn't care and was indifferent because she knew that I'd kind of do the opposite of what she thought. So I was a rebellious child or something like that.
Because you moved out and you're bad.
I'm bad. So then, yep, there's Sarah and me. Aren't we adorable?
Oh
So
my
cute.
gosh, this is very funny, dude. Look at you guys.
We're so cute.
I can't go. There we go. It's extra funny if you know Sarah as well.
Yeah. She's just as short.
Yeah, she hasn't grown.
She grew about 3 inches.
But she's as tall as you were then. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So you said your parents were unicorns about it. That's really interesting. When you talk about not having the best relationship growing up, did that affect you when you went into mom and dad's week, or how was that? Was that if this is a story for Bisler?
No, it's not. I mean, I guess I think my first year I was like, oh, I won't miss them at all. I worked at a summer camp all throughout high school, and so I was gone for the summers a lot of times, and I was like, I won't miss them. I won't get homesick. But I think just with high emotions on the book field, halfway through the summer, I was like, oh, dang. I actually kind of want to talk to them. I was like, what is this feeling going on inside of me? What's going on?
I'm not supposed to feel emotions.
I'm not supposed to feel emotions.
You're supposed to go to the door. Next door.
Wow. Yeah. So I wouldn't say it affected it. I actually, my entire career never hit dad's week. So sorry, dad. I actually hit mom's week multiple times. And one of the mom's weeks, my mom requested that I just get the dad mug so that they could have matching mugs. And they have pictures. They send me pictures when they use their mugs. And they're like, look at our matching mugs. They're adorable. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
What was sales school like since you went into this kind of whatever, I'll just go do it, give it your personality, you're so chill, and sales school is not chill? Was that hard for you to just be like, whoa, or were you right with it? Did you have your cool card?
Okay, so I took Adderall on the way to sales school to memorize my sales talk.
Of course.
Because you know,
Because you didn't do
college.
it since January.
Because I didn't do it since January. Well, and so I'm going through the whole interview process with Maria too. And I'm like, why do I have to go through an interview process? Like, I already told you I'm going to do it. Like, why are you making me answer all these questions and like talk about emotions and like all these things? Like, it doesn't matter.
Dude,
like, I'm
that
going to
is
do it.
so not ideal when you're trying to, on the other side, you're like, this girl is going to be hard to coach.
Yeah. I've heard
Wow.
that I'm not always the most coachable. So it's always something in the back of my head that I have to work on.
What?
Yeah,
You?
crazy, right? No.
No.
Nay, ponytail.
I haven't experienced that ever with you, ever. Slack.
Shots fired. All right, okay. Note to self, be more intentional when Andres tells me to do things.
I'm joshing you. It's because of that I appreciate having you on, working with us, because I need some of that. Everybody needs some of that. I can't build this thing on my own, and it's a team now, and we need people to be on
pushback
the other
for
side
sure.
going, hey, no, this doesn't work like this. It's good. It's a good thing. For me,
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, even Austin and I were talking about, because he's one of the people that I've been talking about potential like financial advisor stuff. And
He's
I'm
with
just like
Primerica?
berating. Yeah, he is. Him and his
Do
dad
that.
work
Do
with
Primerica.
Okay.
Do Primerica. No question.
Okay, cool. We'll talk later. So he's
Sorry.
like berating, like I'm berating him with, and like Austin and I have been friends for like 6 years now. So I'm like just in it deep. And he's like, well, like, you know, like I could tell he's starting to get like kind of like, well, Naomi, if you don't want to work with me, don't work with me. And I was like, hey, Austin, like I know I'm really abrasive and you don't normally see the side of me because we haven't worked together. But it's mostly
I'm into
just 'cause
this.
I'm doing my due diligence. And I'm an 8 and I build community with conflict. So just get used to it.
That should be. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram too, and for ponytails, that should be your tagline. We don't have a tagline yet. Ponytails podcast: building community with conflict.
That's awesome. That's really funny.
Or building conflicted community, because also
Yeah.
that counts too. That it works that way too.
100%.
Anyway, sorry. So sales school. So you tell Maria I'm in there. You didn't. You're trying to on Adderall,
Yeah, I was
driving
taking
out the
like
highway.
22 or 21 or like 20-ish credit hours my second semester of college, because when you're a music major, you take a ton of like 1 credit hour classes, and then you have rehearsals all the time on top of that, and you have like concerts coming up. So it's a lot of outside work than your actual class time and homework.
Yeah, music majors are. I was a music major for 1 semester, and I can tell you, it's like med school. Like you
I
have
had
to
a science professor tell me
bring
like
it.
these can be tougher than science degrees. Like,
Well, it's like hard from the standpoint of some of the classes are just challenging. Like I remember we had oral skills, which was when you have to like listen to music and then write it from just listening onto like. So like the test, literal the exam was you would sit and the professor would play something on the piano, and you had to like write the notes, like write the sheet music for it from sound.
mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you
Yeah.
even practice for that, right? That takes hours. And then that's one class, right? And then you have to go practice whatever your instrument is. So for me, I was vocal major, so like I had to go practice singing. And then the other way, like it was even that, it was so crazy amount.
It's a
I
lot,
commend you for
man.
that. That's crazy.
And then I had this other test that it was my music history class, and you would have all of the he would play like, they were called music listening tests, and you would have like probably 10 to 20 pieces of music that you needed to study, and you would have to he would play about 30 seconds of the excerpt, so you had to know the piece, and some of these pieces are like 10-20 minutes long, some of them are like a minute long, you know, it depends what era in history you're studying. And so you needed to know the piece well enough to be able to recognize it from a 30-second excerpt. And you needed to write down the title of the piece, and half the time they're in German or Italian or in, you know, just all these different languages. So you
Or
got
they
to know
have
all the
similar
different
names. Like there'll be like
so,
symphony number 7, but it's the 7th symphony of a different artist. So they're both 7
yep.
symphonies, but it could have been his 6th, or it could have been ode to a symphony. And you're like, the fuck, like very close
Yeah.
as well.
So you had to know the title, the composer, the opus number, the symphony number, like if it had a movement, which movement it was, like all of the details. And if you got anything wrong, it was just wrong. And it was just like, and you got 30 seconds to listen to it. And he's like, all right, write it down. It's
Oh,
like,
this is Chopin's Fifth or whatever. Yeah, you're like, shit. Yeah, I remember. It's crazy. Music major stuff was crazy. So I understand
so
why your
that being
sales talk
said,
was not
I
learned.
didn't memorize my sales talk. I did not
That
memorize my
makes
sales talk.
sense. Who's got time for
So-
that shit? Nobody's got time
Yeah,
for
and I was
You
like,
didn't
why
have
do I
time for
need
campus
to do all
meetings.
these things? I was like, this is a summer internship. Emphasis on summer. Like, I was like, geez, man. So I took Adderall on the way to sales school to just memorize my thing, and I was like, and Sarah's like driving me to sales school as my student manager. She's like, yep, like, because I didn't have a car. I was a walker my first summer too.
Don't quit,
And
don't
so-
quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit.
Don't quit. And then we get to sales school, we get our backpacks, and everyone's like running around. And like while we're like running around, knocking on doors, you know, theoretically and like practicing and stuff, you know, I'm like in it and like trying. Kayla Curtis was in that first org with me, super fun. You got to have Ryan Mulcahy on at some point. That kid is hilarious.
Yeah.
He'll have so many good stories. But we were all in that org together, and I'm like running around, and like as I'm running around, it just kind of like hits me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are knocking on doors this summer. This is a thing that people do. I was like,
shit.
I'm in Nashville at this point. I don't have a car. I need money. So here I am. I was like, all right,
all this
cool.
for $10,000.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, like, I guess we're doing this. So I just, you know, going through it. It kind of felt like a camp. Like, I think probably camp is the best way to actually equivalate. Like, if you're trying to describe some Southwestern someone, it's actually really easy to relate it to the military, is what I found. Because with dating Ben and him having the military experience, it's been like very like parallel a lot of our experience, just from Southwestern and him being in the military. And then I also try and describe it to people as like a camp, because like, you know, at camp, when you go to camp and you're like, you're having a good time most of the time, but like sometimes you get like really emotional, and then they pack all these activities in and you're just like exhausted. Like, that's how the summer is for 12 weeks and not 1 week. Like, you have 1 week of camp, you've got 14 weeks of a book selling summer. Like,
Exactly right. And then you're hot, and people are telling
then
you
you're hot.
that you suck to your face.
Yeah, I still
Your
have
mom's
people tell
nowhere
me that
near.
I suck to my face. I had this old guy being like, I'm not gonna open the door to people I don't know. This was like yesterday working with Cardinal. I was like, geez, man, like it doesn't stop, man. Like, people just remain not the smartest.
Yeah.
Like, you filled this out on the internet. I'm here now. I'm not
Come
gonna
say
bite
hi.
you. It's not a Monday. I only bite on Mondays. Like, you're safe.
That's right.
You know?
I only bite after 9 p.m. So, so you where'd you go that first summer?
So I was supposed to be in Kentucky all my first summer, and then I ran out of turf because the main place that I was going to work actually wouldn't allow like door-to-door transient business owners, is what they called it, because I was from Florida. So they
And you're
didn't
like,
allow
if
it.
you don't know, the interstate commerce law says.
Yeah, basically.
But you moved
So
from Kentucky
to Indiana.
Oof.
So Olivia Batshone went on a mission trip, and then she came back, or like a trip to Italy or something, and came back. So she needed turf. Then Kimmy ran out of turf, and then I ran out of turf. So it was like, at this point, we had 3 people, girls, that needed turf, and there wasn't really availability in Kentucky. So we went to Indiana, and we started looking for housing because we needed to move to Indiana, which I was heartbroken about because I really want to live with Sarah. But it wasn't a big deal. And they were like, well, you'll get to make new friends. And I was like, yeah, it's fine.
I guess. But have you
yeah,
seen
it
us in
ended
this
up
picture?
yeah, it ended up being pretty decent. So that first summer was a lot. I didn't have a car. I couldn't go to the bathroom in gas stations, even if I wanted to, because I didn't have a car. So
Did you ever shit yourself?
I did not ever shit myself. I've never shit myself, but I
Me
did
either.
take a shit in a cornfield.
Nice.
Yep, there are a lot of cornfields in Indiana, and I knocked on this one door, and I was like, they were a no, and I was like, okay, this might sound like really weird, but like, can I use your restroom? Like, I'm really sorry to be asking this, but like, I don't have a car. And they're like, go ask so and so in the back. And I was like, okay. So I go around back and like I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, but they're in the middle of like a therapy session for their kid with special needs. And it's just like it was a whole mess. And they're like, no, like the heck. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry.
This is not ideal for me either.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, fine. Like I didn't want to create any bad PR for myself. So I was like, okay, cool, no worries. And then I longboarded my first summer. And so I like longboarded like down the road a little bit, but like, I had coffee that morning and it was just like something had to happen. So I like booked it into this cornfield. I used corn husk leaves, and everything. It was not the most ideal.
Yes.
But I was relieved and then I went back to work.
And you were on schedule. You were on
I was
schedule.
on schedule.
Less guilty than the smoothie.
Less guilty than the smoothie that I got.
Oh
I was
man.
pretty bad
As
at
a
being off
walker,
schedule.
it's so brutal, man. I never walked, but Danny had to walk for his first 2 weeks, and I witnessed that firsthand. There was the first, because my first summer I didn't see or know anybody that walked. I had no idea people did that.
Yep.
And the only person that didn't have a car was Will Struby, who I think is going to be on soon on the show. But Will had a motorcycle that he took out to the field, which is odd because they're loud. And so you
Dude,
show
that's
up
pretty
with
cool
like
though.
a backpack. Yeah, you show up with the backpack and the
I would
loud ass motorcycle in the
totally
driveway.
sell with a motorcycle.
And he'd like take off his helmet, and he's bald already at this point, so he'd take off his helmet. Hi, are you the mom of the house? This is so odd. Very, very funny. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. The bookman that
Yeah.
rides a motorcycle. That's
That's
pretty
sick.
lit.
But
good.
anyway, so the only other person I'd known, and Danny walked. So that's tough. That's tough. I mean, basically you get dropped off in the morning, like at 7:30 in the morning, and you're like, cool, enjoy your feet for like till 9:30, because your manager probably isn't going to come pick you up until 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Dude, and not to rag on Kimmy, man, but Kimmy would also do late night sit downs. And like we drove an hour to our turf every day. And so we were in the car with each other for 2 hours every day. And it was a lot. And it was like, sometimes I would just be so tired and just want to go home so badly. And one night she got pulled over because she like sneezed or something. She was like, oh, I like swerved when I sneezed and then I got pulled over. And I was like, so like, just like emotionally, just like overwhelmed and just like upset. And like, obviously that's not her fault. You know what I mean? But I was just like, I just want to go home and take a shower. Half the time, Kimmy and I would just like hop in the shower together because it was like 11 p.m. at that night. And we were just like, whatever, man. Like, we just got to go to sleep. Like,
it is what it is. Save some time.
I'm not going to wait for you to finish your shower, and you're not going to wait for me to finish my shower. We're not going to argue right now about who gets to shower first. So we're just going to take a shower.
If you want in, but I'm in here.
Yeah.
It's rough. So it's a tough. What was the toughest day you remember from walking that you're like, man, there's no way I'm not bringing a car next year?
I think I just knew the whole summer, like I was bringing a car. It's like, I don't think there was like a particular day. I remember like some mornings, like you jump out of bed in the morning for your cold shower, and like my feet like hit the ground and it just like was painful, just like stepping out of the bed. It was just like your feet were just so sore and like just beat. Like I went through 3 pairs of tennis shoes that summer.
I wonder how many miles you walked.
A lot, dude. And like I rode my longboard too, right? And so when you're on a longboard, you have the one foot that's on the board. There I am. That's my first summer. See, including pictures was totally a fun idea.
Yeah.
So,
if you guys are listening, it's definitely worth checking out the video later on. If you guys, we're 51 minutes in. This is hilarious. 51:08. Look at that. Can we zoom in on this, Amy, or is that? Yeah, there we go. Upside down visor.
Oh, for sure. I always made sure to look really dorky on the book deals. I'd be like, "Hi, I'm a stupid college girl. Buy books for me," because for some reason people liked that. So
Look at that. What a stud.
yeah.
So you got your longboard. You probably that ate your shoes up too, probably.
Oh, yeah. There was so yeah, with the longboard, so you have the one foot that's on the board and the one that like pedals, right? So the foot that's on the board, you're continually like lowering to get your other foot on the ground, right? So you're kind of doing these like mini squats all day.
Yeah.
So by the end of the summer, my left glute and quad were significantly larger than the right one. And it's probably like the funniest like exercise, like noticeable difference between legs. But like it's interesting too, because actually when you work out legs, it actually it's not this way with arms, but I learned this from Ben. But when you work out your legs, it actually is even. So even if you have a leg injury on one side, you still want to work out the other leg because it'll still like help your injured leg.
Oh,
Don't know how that works. But yeah, that's what he told me. He knows a lot of things. I don't know. So but I think it was just so much overuse of my left leg squatting all the time from longboarding that it was just like my quads, I think, have never been more toned and muscular for sure.
And then
than
your
that
right
summer.
calf was shredded, and your
Oh,
right
yeah.
hip from pushing from the other side. Just
Yeah.
or you were missing the other half from the other
Oh,
leg.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
for
wild.
sure. And there was this like, I got really good at I called it the Johnny Depp, you know, like in Pirates of the Caribbean, like the very opening scene, he's sailing, Jack Sparrow, and
Yep.
the boat is sinking,
Yeah.
and he just walks onto the
He
deck.
gets right off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I called it the Johnny Depp because I had like longboard and I go right up to the house and I just walk up the steps. So I got pretty good at like putting my board in the grass. Like I'd ride my board into the grass and then I just run up to the door.
Did
And
you ever
then
eat
it
shit?
backfired. It backfired one morning because one morning I was like, "Let's go, best day ever. I'm the best booker." This is like week 3. I'm like, "I'm so good at this job." Like totally sucked at the job. Like, you know, but like we got told to talk to ourselves positively, right? So
Yeah, whatever.
I'm trying to be more coachable than like I've been told that I have been. So there is obviously it's morning time. So there's this thing that happens in the morning, Andres. It's called dew. And so there was dew on the grass. So I went to go do my Jack Sparrow walk and like be a gangster and walk up to the door and like sell them some books, right? And I roll up into the grass and I'm going pretty fast. So this is Kentucky too. So there are like hills in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I'm like coming
Gonna say it's hilly.
downhill, get in this driveway, get in the grass, and I step off of the grass and I step my foot off to start running. And my foot, it was like a cartoon. It was just like, zoop. It felt like one of those like cartoons where you zoop and then you do like 2 or 3 spins in the air and then just like slam. And so I didn't spin, obviously, because it wasn't a cartoon, but it was close to it.
But it was
And
cartoonish.
I go up in the air. I have my binder and my iPad in my hand. And so as I go up, I like throw these things up in the air and I land on my back and it knocks all the wind out of me. And I was just like, right? And then I threw things up in the air, right? So then my like gravity. So then my iPad, instead of coming down like this or landing, you know, in the grass, it came down at like an angle like this and it hit my lip. And I still have a scar, but it sliced through my lip and it like left a hole in my lip. So there are pictures from that Sunday meeting where I'm like doing like a shotgun, I'm like covering it because I just had, and I was swollen. I like stood up and I was like, oh, because I just got hit in the face. And I'm like bending over and there's just like blood like gushing out of my face. And I was like, this is awful. And I was like, what do I do?
Ideal.
And I was like,
I can't knock like this.
Answer lines behind the next door. That's what they told me. I like go up to the door, I like knock on the door, no answer. Go next door, knock on the door, no answer. I'm like, fuck, what do I do? So then I was like, geez, man. And so I got on my longboard. One of my customers from the day before was on the street behind me. So I go to the street behind me and she's outside like walking her dog. And I was like, hey, and I move my hand and just blood. And she's like, oh my
God.
She brought me inside and like gave me a popsicle and like help my face, and I was like, it's okay. And I'm like swollen like all day, and my lip is just like this big. Just like so
Look like a guy
went
by
back
Mike
to work.
Tyson.
Yeah, went back to work, got a popsicle. She helped me fix my face and everything. Didn't go get a smoothie because it
Also,
wasn't
to
right.
suck out of a straw with that would have been probably not ideal.
Yeah, so I'm like talking all day with my lip like this and swollen. It was just not it. So that was like one for my first summer. So
What was your first customer like, especially as a
his name is
walker?
Mr. Klinger.
No.
Yeah.
What a name, bro.
I know,
Klinger.
Mr. Klinger. I
Straight
thought he was
shooting
a
Klinger.
grandpa, and yeah, no. I thought he was a grandpa, and apparently he had like a 6-year-old, and so he was really nice. I started walking up, and I was like waving, and he's like, "Hi," and like we just started talking. It was probably like 11 to 2 p.m. range, like somewhere in there, and we just like sit down on the front porch, and he was just so sweet, like a sweet old guy, and I was like, grandparent, like I'm trying to figure out his situation, but he had like a 6-year-old kid, and he bought like Ask Me's and like the websites, and then he he was really nice. He gave me orange juice, and we started talking about music in college because he actually used to teach at a college, and he gave me a box CD because I played Bigger Better with him, the penny game,
Nice.
and he gave me a box CD, and he also gave me a seashell. And if you know me, I love the beach and I love seashells, and I'm a music major, and I think it was a box CD. So he gave me the box CD, and I was just like, whoa, And I was like,
That's right.
okay, sweet. They said you get 3 customers a day, so there are probably 2 more out there, and I got 2 more customers out there.
That was your
So
first day?
yeah, my first day wasn't
Nice.
bad. Yeah, I think my first week I had 6 customers.
That's a good start, especially for walking.
Yeah, it was decent. It wasn't bad.
Good
For
shit.
sure.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Did you pick up steam afterwards, or was that summer kind of rough overall? Like, was it what everybody has a different first summer? Some start hot
I think
and hot.
I produced about 1,400 units, I think.
Hey, that's
So
good, especially for walking
I was
and switching
actually,
chirps.
yeah, switching turfs. It was funny because Southwestern's overall like production that year was actually down because that was the year after like Pedro left, after John Stewart left, after like
I
a bunch
left.
of people left. You
Honestly,
left.
that is huge. Biggest
That was
loss
the
really of that
biggest
year.
company loss. Was you leaving,
Honestly, I mean Grant
obviously.
Grader left too, but me for sure.
You for sure.
My
So
700 units from the summer before.
LOL.
Where were they going to replace those?
Yeah, so that summer, Southwestern's overall production was lower, and I was supposed to be a top rookie. I was in the top 100 to my knowledge, and they only included the top 75 because production was so low. And I was like, that's effed up, man. I was a top rookie, and I don't even get to be a top rookie. I was like, I worked so hard. But
My lip bled.
yeah, my lip bled. My org wasn't necessarily like a huge like top producing org or anything. Like it was me and this other guy, Peyton, and probably Kayla Curtis that were like the 3 ones that were producing the most that summer. And even the kid that produced above me only probably sold like 1,500 or something like that. So
Slower org.
slower org for sure. And one of our like none of the student leaders hit PC that summer. Like, so we weren't seeing like a ton of production. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's
pretty normal to have an OL sell at least PC several times there during that summer.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. How did you know you wanted to come back?
Well, so remember when I was in my interview process and I was like, yeah, like, oh, if I do this my whole college career, then I can make $135,000.
Right, because you made about the 10 grand. I mean, minus expenses and stuff probably, but overall you probably made some money.
Yeah, I mean, we made I think $5 per unit back then. So now it's like 8 something. Back then it was still like 5 something. So I think my first summer, I think there's a picture of my check maybe, Amy. But it was like $6,400 or something like that. So
right there.
Didn't quite kill it, but I bought my first car after my first summer. So there's baby me.
Is that your first summer?
That was my first summer, yeah. That was my second summer with this frog. That was actually my last summer. That was 2021.
Oh, well, let's get into some of these stories. Let's go through the pictures and you tell us what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Well, oh wait, hold on. So, but yeah, you decided you wanted to come back because you had said, "Hey, I'm freaking coming back." So,
Yeah. So, well, I very much was like in the Kool-Aid. This is a little possum I found. He's so cute. So my second summer, anytime I picked up an animal, I zeroed that day. So I picked up 3 animals my second summer. I found that frog that was in the other picture. I found this little baby possum. He's so smiley and so cute. That lamb, adorable. There's Drea.
Drea.
Drea, that was breaking the rules that night. Our host dad gave us beers. So we would come home at night and Drea was like, well, Amy drank a glass of wine when she was doing stats, so we can drink beer.
Go Mort.
Which we totally weren't allowed to. I still have that hat. Actually, I think I gave it to Ben, but it's got a headlight in it. I got it from a dad. And so she was like reading a book, drinking beer on a Sunday.
Let's go.
Super Drea vibes. So this guy, Cullen, this is a whole ass story. This guy, okay, this guy, oh my gosh. So I'm in Indiana my first summer. I'm taking like a goal period break. So we break up the days. I don't know if that's one of the things at the bottom, but we break up the days into like 2.5 hours to kind of like stay focused for that time period. They're called goal periods. So I was taking a goal period break and I was eating a protein bar and I was like kind of out front of a house, but like kind of in between properties. This guy rolls up in a white car and it's like, hey, like, are you locked out of your house? And I was like, oh, that's not my house. And so he was like, oh, well, like, I just want to make sure you're okay. Like, I brought you a Gatorade. And I was like, oh, because like,
oh boy,
not everyone's nice to you on the book field. So getting a Gatorade from a stranger is great. And
might
so
as well
we
be
were
a
like
bouquet of
talking.
roses.
Yeah. So we were like chit-chatting a little bit and I was like, okay, well, I got to go back to work. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to a dentist appointment. He's like, and I was like, yeah, here's one of my business cards, like whatever. I was just like passing them out to everyone. So then he hit me up on Facebook, but I didn't see this until later. So I keep working for like 2 hours and then I run into him again because he's outside walking his dog. Right. And so like this was 2 or 3 hours after I saw him. And he was walking his dog and I was chit-chatting with him and he's like, oh, did you see my message on Facebook? And I was like, no, I don't check social media during the day because he messaged my book girl page. That's what was on my business card.
Right.
And he was like, oh, well, I didn't know what you were doing Friday night. I didn't know if you want to hang out. I was like, oh, I'm working. He was like, okay, well, what about Saturday? And I was like, thanks, but I'm working. And he was like, okay. I was like, I heard that like there's a delivery week at the end of the summer and apparently it's like we get more time. It's like very chill or something, which if anyone sold books, delivery week is like hectic.
Not chill. It's the opposite.
Not chill.
Especially for someone without a car.
Yeah, for sure. So he was like, oh, okay, well, like maybe we can chit chat later, whatever. So he gives me pre-approach for the entire street. So I was like, let's effing go, man. And just like nice person all around. Obviously, it was like trying to get, invited me to go to a party with him. So, but right, yeah. But we ended up we're still really good friends. His name's Cullen. So then, like week 8 or 9, they're like, okay, well, if you're a walker, we have deliveries coming up in 4 weeks. So you need to figure out like how to deliver your books. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, they didn't tell me this. Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, oh my gosh, that guy. So I was like,
he's got a car.
I was like, he's got a car. I was like, hey, what are you doing this week? Like the dates, And he's like, oh, probably just working, but why? I was like, well, like, this is the situation. I'm supposed to deliver all these people's books, and I have some to deliver in Kentucky too, but I don't know. Like, I thought maybe I could pay you $500 and like buy your food and gas, and like maybe like that could work or something. And he's like, yeah, like let me see if I can take off work. So he takes off work and he worked with me 90 hours that week, and I paid this guy like $500 and fed him.
Bro, this guy was trying to date.
So it ended up being a great time. We had like lots of good conversation. We became really good friends. At this point, I started like at this point in the summer, I started having a crush on my OL, who ended up being my boyfriend for 3 years. So
Oof.
not a bad thing, but
No.
wasn't necessarily interested.
You
So
paid him $5.55 an hour.
that's right. I did a whole $5. I bought him food though too. So.
You know what's crazy? And I don't mean to be this guy. But no way in hell this happens for a dude. I cannot imagine a world where I'm just walking in the street, some 24-year-old looking woman, whatever how old he was, comes up to me and says, "Hey, do you live here? I'm going to the dentist. Do you want to come to a party on Friday?" And then I just go, "Hey, if I give you $500, can you drive me around talking to families and trying to collect money from them?"
To a new state too?
Across state lines.
Across state lines.
I don't know that I could find a pony that big.
Yeah, no. So he was really cool. So we actually like talked a lot, and like we talked a lot about like self-talk and everything I'd been learning for the summer. Became really good friends.
That's
that
sweet.
October, he actually told me that he didn't plan on living through his birthday that October, and everything that we had talked about really like inspired him, and just talking about like positive thinking and self-talk and just like all these concepts that he hasn't necessarily been introduced to before. He was just really struggling with a lot of mental health stuff. And so he like thanked me in October when his birthday came. And I was like, I had no idea, man. Like, wow. Like,
Wow.
I'm really glad we met, you know? And like, I didn't know I had that impact. So like, I'm glad we got to hang out, you know? He flew down to Florida and came and hung out with myself and the other book friends. He hung out with us at the HQ in Kentucky. He then my second summer, so this picture is actually from my second summer. So I injured my back my second summer. So I couldn't lift any boxes of books. I couldn't do anything. And I called him and I was like, "Hey, I'm in Wisconsin. If I pay for your gas, like, would you be down to like help me for part of my deliveries again?" And he was like,
Paid
"Sure."
$1,000.
I think I actually paid him less. I think I paid him like $250. I was like, "Listen, I didn't make that much money."
I'll pay you 26 cents an hour, $2.6 an hour.
Yeah, but I was like, "We can hang out again. I'll pay for your expenses at least, and road trip fun time in Wisconsin. Like, do you want to come again?" So he came again. And we're still actually really good friends to this day. We chit chat every once in a while. He's dating this girl Shannon. He's done like a lot of bodybuilding in his career, and like yeah, just really great human being. So really cool story about how you can like just have cool impact by just having good conversations with people. But he's a superstar.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You saved a life. And if you or someone you know is experiencing a tough time mental health wise, know that you are not alone. Call 988 Suicide Crisis Hotline. They will help you out. Trust me. People want you around. We need you.
Yeah. And he's also one of the people that probably were more of a genesis of like what I want to do eventually with opening the mental health facility that I want to open with using creative arts. So just one of the pieces of the puzzle to help me get there. So
yeah, I did want to talk to you about that at some point while we're here. If you want to get into that and then go back to explaining some more of these funny pictures.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll go back to Southwestern stuff here in a sec, but I loved because when we first met, that's what you had as your North Star, and it still is. Tell me about that. That's so cool. So that's where kind of the genesis was, but what's the end goal? What does it look like? What's the ideal situation for you when it comes to the future for your career?
Yeah, so I see myself working with Cardinal at least. Like, I'm definitely going to push myself really hard, tough this next upcoming year, just because you get residuals for 10 years too. So that's really positive.
That does not suck.
It does not suck. I'm probably going to start full-time fundraising for the facility I want to open in as soon as Ben gets in the military. So as soon as there's a second income coming in. Yeah. But yeah, I had one of my friends, we'll call them Mort. One of my friends, I accidentally hurt their feelings and I didn't mean to. And it was through like a playful thing with one of my other friends, we'll call them Mort as well.
The other one's called
And
Utley. The first one's Mort's. The other one's Utley.
yeah. Yeah. So Mort got really upset with me, and I didn't know that I could, like, a joke that I made could have that much, like, pain infliction. And because you never know people's stories, like, behind, like, the mask, that people put on. And they just, like, kind of laid into me a lot. And I was like, wow, I'm sorry that that's how that came off. Like, I really didn't mean for that to happen. And I really apologize. And I just, like, really was, like, hurting, like, for my friend. And I was just like, man, like, what can I do? And I was so upset. Like, I was kind of like, I canceled all of my recruiting appointments for the day. And I was just like, I just need to, like, go be around people that, like, I know care about me. So I drove to my now ex-boyfriend's house in Orlando. So I just hopped in my car on a Thursday and just, like, drove up there. And, like, in the last 10 minutes of the drive, I just felt God, like, kind of slap me in the face and being like, you're going to open a facility for people that, struggle with mental health, and you can use the creative arts to help people with those things. Because there are just a lot of studies that praise, like, music therapy or, like, art therapy or just, things along those lines. And, part of me is like, I don't want to do it because it's going to take a lot of work. And I don't really want to work hard because I worked hard in Southwestern and I'm working hard right now. And as
Fair
nice
enough.
as, money can be, it's just not always it all the time. So I think
No,
most
for
people
sure.
don't really want to work that hard. So it's just going to take a lot. And I know it's going to take a lot of overhead too. Part of the reason why I'm also working with Cardinal, because a lot of overhead needs to be earned in the next couple of years. But long term, I'm probably going to end up, I'm discussing with one of my friends about being the president, because if I end up with someone that happens to be in the military, I'm going to be moving around a lot and can't always be present. So discussing that with one of my friends, and I'll probably buy a slab of property near them in Nashville, to where that we can actually end up running it together. So that's my best friend from college. Her name's Kayla Metscher. She never sold books, but she's the closest thing to a book woman that didn't sell books. She's super BA. She works for, like, nonprofits and helps orphans out all around the world, and just really awesome human being. So she also, is involved in music through her friends in the music school. And so, yeah, just the plan long term is basically having, like, a giant playground for creative people. And so having, like, basically a warehouse size facility where it's like a membership that people can come in. And I don't mind talking about it because I don't think anyone's going to put in enough work to actually make my dream to come true, because it's, like, a lot of work. Got to buy property.
And if they do,
gotta,
you
like,
can still
build
do
the
it too.
building. Yeah. And it'll be better. So, but planning on having, like, a couple of, like, probably, like, 2 music studios in there that people can book, because, like, going and working in a studio is, like, a lot of money. So having, like, a couple of music studio people can work in. There might even just be a recording studio. Like, if people want to make podcasts, they can do that. Having, like, painting options, having pottery options, having, like, bookshelves that people can just, like, go in and chill and read. And it's just, like, mostly if you just, like, don't want to be alone and just want to be around people, or maybe you don't want to even talk to anybody, but you just don't want to feel, like, trapped in your house or alone, or, like, maybe your thoughts are starting to take over some of your actions, or just your thoughts are starting to eat away at your mind, and, like, you don't feel like you can do anything. Like, you can just come and chill out and play and hang out and have a good time and do something creative in the meantime if you want to, or not, or just hang out, whatever. Like, have a dance studio in there where people could do yoga and, dance or whatever the heck. So that's kind of the plan.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business, specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy.
That's
So
okay. And actually, and this is good to, I had Nick kind of explain this a little bit too, but it's because I've been in the insurance industry before. For people who are listening, like, how do you make 115% commission?
like, the way I explain it to people is the insurance companies we represent. So we're a broker. All these companies we work with, they know they're not really going to be making any money off the sales that I make for the first several years. But they don't
Right.
care about that. They know these clients are going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So no, they know they're going to make money over the long haul. And so part of the reason agents are able to make so much is there's all these companies out here and they're all competing for the broker's business, because these companies don't actually have their own in-house sales force. They have independent contractors. And so if their compensation or their commission levels that they offer aren't competitive, I'm not going to place any business with them.
Hello, off schedule moment. Wanted to tell you about Southwestern Real Estate. They're 99% drama free, only 99, not 99.9. So it's a bit spicy, kind of like this episode. Anyway, they will learn you to kick ass at real estate. So make sure you guys click the link below, get in touch with them. Okay, back to work. Bye. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show. There's similar but not the same, but there's a couple of connections that I gotta hook you up with just so you can kind of maybe pick somebody's brain about do's and don'ts. A buddy of mine named Taylor Jones used to be my music show choir director. He's the one that helped me prep my vocal audition so I could get into the music school at UNL in the first place.
Nice.
He created a place called Create 308, and it's exactly kind of what you're saying, but not with the mental health aspect attached to it, but more like the cool, like the YMCA, but for dancers, musicians, and like people who want to work on like computer stuff as well. And so kids show up and you pay membership, and it's the dancing that they have going on, and it's flourished amazingly and it's grown.
Probably.
So that's one. And two, there's a place in Lincoln, it's a nonprofit called The Bay. It's a coffee shop, but the coffee shop, it originally used to be like a skating rink, and then they expanded because a lot of kids would show up there after school to go skating, like turnpikes and shit or whatever, like skateboarding, like type of stuff, indoor facility. And then they expanded and then they turned it into something similar with that, which was like kids can come and learn coding, and they can come and learn guitar, they could come and learn painting, and it was all focused on like kids, and so completely nonprofit. So it was really, I got both of those kinds of contacts. I mean, at the very least, just to be like, hey, what was the process like to even open up a facility like this? Because essentially what you want to do, but you want to do it more attached to helping people develop out of a tough mental health position, which is increasingly more and more needed. So I
There's
don't know. I'll make
definitely a
sure.
market there. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to y'all, and I think it's really cool that you want to do that. Sweet shit. You're
Yeah,
gonna succeed
so
at this. I'm excited to see what it turns into.
4 to 8 years, we'll have the first one up running. So that's the
And
plan.
it'll be like episode
1,000,
like 700 at that one or something. We marked it
something like
out.
that.
Yeah. So we'll have it. We have 24 per season, and there's 4 seasons, so it's about 96
Nice.
per year. So
Yeah, good
it's
stuff.
exciting.
Yeah, so that's that. You know.
Good shit. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go back to some of these pictures and just hear some more funny stories, and then make sure we say the ponytails for the end. So this is normally what the rest of the episode looks like. Is just talk about funny stuff that happened in the book field if you're chill.
Yeah, good stuff. I got the crewing story for the TV thing too, if you want to hear that one.
Crewing story for the TD? Or for the TV?
TV. I took someone's TV instead of a payment for their book.
Is that ponytails worthy, or should we just go for it now?
I mean, sure, yeah. Not pony story worthy. There was so
and by
Barry
ponytails, I don't
Hart.
mean our podcast. I mean like at the end of our podcast. That's when we have the ponytails. So it's the best story. All of these stories are worth for the ponytails podcast. I just realized I could have made it sound like your stories aren't worthy for the show. Didn't mean
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Sorry.
I got you.
Yeah.
I knew what you meant.
Okay. Sorry.
You're good. No sorries to be had. So Barry Hart, he was a guest earlier on the show.
Scoberry.
Yeah. So Vivian. So each summer, honestly, after my second, there was one summer that I delivered primarily by myself, and that was summer 2020. But every other summer, I was having my back problems, and so I had people come and help me deliver. So Vivian Larson, shout out to Vivi. Dude, we have to get her and Trevor on. Are we doing couples again in February? We have to do that.
Can.
Yeah, we got to do that, and they got to be one of them for sure. But Vivian, she came out and helped me. I was like, "Hey, how would you like a free trip to Indiana?" And she's like, "Sure," because she loves traveling. But she came and I was like, "Oh, there's this alumni that wanted to meet up. Like, let's go get dinner with him." Barry shows up. Barry's like the funniest guy around the block, and like we're just like this guy, man. And he's just like telling us all these funny stories. And we went to one of my customers' houses before and got like pretty schwasty with them. So we show up to this dinner with this alumni and we're like low-key like stressing out because we're like not the most, sober right now. And like we're showing up to this meeting with this alumni, like, oh my gosh. And then Barry
Owns a
shows up and he's
pharmaceutical
like,
company.
yeah. Just like so funny. And so we're sitting down and he's like, yeah, like he told stories about like how when he was in Texas, like he would go back and like crew people and they'd be like, we don't have the money, and he'd be like, all right, well, like, just give me your TV. And they'd be like, no, you can't take the TV. And he's like, well, you owe me this much money. How much is the TV worth? Give me the TV. And they're like, no, Mr. Senior Barry, please don't take the TV.
Oh my God.
And so Vivian and I are just cracking up at dinner as he's telling us this story. And Vivian's like, Naomi, you got to try it. You got to try it. And I was like, if it comes up, I'll try it. And so it was like one of the last days. I'd been in this lady's house 2 or 3 times and like just was not getting the money from her. And I'm like in there and like re-demoing the books. One of her daughters like rips one of the stickers in there. And I'm like, now it's definitely your books. Like,
Yeah,
like,
you're buying these. Sorry.
Like, definitely your books. So I was like, okay, well, like, what's really positive? You already put this much down on the books. So there's only like $106 left on the books. Like, what can we do? And she's like coming up with all these things. Like, I don't have this, I don't have that. And I was like, all right, well, like, what about the TV? She's like, well, there's a TV behind it that's smaller. I was like, how much is it worth? She's like, I bought it from Walmart for $100. And I was like, all right, I'll take the TV. I was like, it still works. My dumb butt forgot to get the remote, by the way. But I got her TV. And so I was like, thanks for the TV. I took the TV home. I didn't use it I had it all last year. I used it for like 9 months. I was like, I don't know what to do with this TV. I forgot the remote. Like, she gave me the plugs and everything, but I forgot to get the remote. And so I just had this TV, but now Ben uses it as his like computer monitor. So it worked out.
Great.
It worked out. So
all for some movements, bro.
Yeah, I crewed this lady and I took her TV. So you owed me
good
money.
Old crew.
Good old crewing.
Some people listening might not remember what crewing is.
Calm them down, re-demo, explain your situation, and work out a way. Work out a way.
We're gonna work this out. Ron Alfred has the textbook on how to crew.
Mm-hmm.
That's
he did the training videos for Southwestern for crewing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was like his thing.
Very funny, for sure.
Yeah. Great job. Go check out that episode. What's this? It's a car in the ditch.
Oh, I just think car problems on the book field are just common and kind of comical at times. So this is one of the many car problems I had. This is when I was using my parents' car. I told them, I was like, hey, I'll pay your car payment if you let me take your car. And they're like, okay.
That's genius. Oh my God, that's so genius.
Isn't it great? Yeah.
That's really smart.
Like instead of renting a car, it's like my parents have this car payment and they usually just use one car anyway. So like, let me take the other car and I'll pay your car payment. And they're like, perfect. And I ended up using it for a year after. They're like, we love not paying this car off. Like, we love it. So yeah, I was pulling out of a driveway and it was one of those driveways, like their grass was clearly overgrown. So I was trying to pull out and it didn't work. And then I think the next picture is this like hillbilly dude. That's him like, oh, I'll just pull your car out. He's got like he had a collar around his neck with a chain. And he's just like this, like probably like a buck 15. Like this guy did not weigh a lot of weight, and he's just like,
Soaking
"I'll
wet.
just take my." He takes his belt off. That's his belt next to the rug there.
I see that.
Yeah, so he takes his belt off and he's looping the belt, his personal belt, around the back of the car, like the pipe underneath or whatever, to link it to his car to pull me out of the ditch. It worked, but I was just like, what
This is in Kentucky?
going on right now? This was Indiana too. This was actually my third summer. So I worked in Indiana 3 times. So
Rough.
yeah, it was Kentucky, Indiana, then Wisconsin, Indiana, Missouri, Indiana. So
Misery.
I would like to never go back to Indiana for the rest of my life.
No doubt. No doubt.
No doubt. So I just thought this was funny, and I still have these pictures. This is a cat on my longboard because, again, I longboarded my first summer.
Hell yeah! Look at
And
that cat. Hi, are
he's
you
smizing.
the kitty of the house? What up,
Are you the kitty in the house? No.
bro? This is
So he
so
was
funny.
cute. Yeah.
So the guy got you out
funny.
with his belts, which is, I mean, honestly, if you told people this story, they wouldn't believe it. But as a book person, I'm like, yep.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah.
Jesus
This
turned
was
water
just-
into wine.
You know how
Crackhead
old
pulled a
people just
car
like
up.
always have stuff on their porch?
Dude, so odd. So
I-
odd, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like when you see one of these geese that it's an old person house. Like you always know.
100%.
Like that flagpoles, they say don't judge the house, but if you got 3 strikes on your house, aka like a flagpole, a bird feeder, and like a goose, I'm
You're
crossing
old.
your house off as a non-prospect. Like, yeah, I'll check with the neighbors to make sure I'm right, but I'm always right. So
And yeah, the signs don't lie, people.
the signs don't lie. They
It's
say don't prejudge the houses. I did the 3 strike rule though.
it's
you
kind of
know?
like yeah, I know what you mean. Where it's
Yeah.
like if they tell you no 3 times from the pre-approach side of things, it's not your prospect.
Yeah.
Um,
But
it's
this
kind of
goose
like
had a braid and I had a braid that day. So I thought it was a really good idea to take a picture because the goose and I were matching.
you have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share some bookfield memories with you.
Do it.
Look at this. Look at this. The full core. Oh, that's a 5
No,
set
that was
right
a
there.
5 book. It was a 5 book. They didn't
Look
need
at
the
you.
honors book. They had a 10-year-old. But really cool mom, still friends with her on Facebook. That was my first 5 book I sold. That was toward the end of my first summer. I always wore tie-dye on Tuesdays every single summer for 5 years. I still, when I work with Cardinal, I have these nice like tie-dye pants that are like kind of nice looking, business casual. So I always wear tie-dye on Tuesdays. It's a thing. It's an important thing actually. Marvelous Mondays, you gotta like wear like red, and like Marvel shirts to the gym. Tie-dye Tuesday, Wankful Wednesday, Thankful Thursday. Like Alex Soto used to call me in the mornings and be like, "It's Wankful Wednesday. What are you wanking it to today, Naomi?"
God.
I'm like, the hot dads I run into.
So many hot dads.
So many hot dads. It's interesting. Indiana has a lot of hot dads, and they're not like necessarily married to like really attractive women. And you're just like, what are you doing? Like, look at me, my
look at
tie
you.
dye.
Your tie-dye.
Amy's really zooming in on there.
Yeah, if we can avoid showing some children, that'd be great. But
Oh yeah,
I don't know what the deal is with YouTube. There's your
that
frog.
was a
All right,
frog. I zeroed that day too because I picked up.
I'm gonna show you something. Amy,
it.
can you share? Let me share my screen because you just made me think of this because I got it. I can share my screen from here. This
Amy
is
is our
from
producer. If people don't know.
yeah. Post some stuff up if you can. All right. I always like to take pictures of really interesting mailboxes people had, like this one.
That's a fun thing to do.
So I had that, and I try to get as creative as I could with their pictures.
Aww, dude, you look like Danny Narvaez in that picture. The last one.
He looks like me.
Oh, the dolphin. What a cutie.
The dolphin, and then look how over edited these pictures are. It's great. We sold in Massachusetts. There's this mailbox. Look at this mailbox.
What? That is such a cool mailbox.
Right?
I have never seen a mailbox like that.
I went to go knock on the door and I look over, about to get out of my car, and this dog's just chilling. He's like,
Yep.
"What are you doing here?" And I was like,
What are
"Oh,
you doing here?
what
I met
are
this one
you
dog
doing
that
here?"
jumped like 5 feet high. I was like astounded. I was like, can you make your dog do it again? Can you make him do it again? It's so cool. Wow,
This
we're
is like
like way
old school.
back. We're
Yeah, this
way
is way
back
back.
in the
Look.
Instagram feed.
Here's my summer. Here's my third summer. I pulled up in the middle of the countryside in Pennsylvania and just see this shit, and I'm like, "Wow, someone's gotten like sacrificed here."
I think
These
I
are all the
had,
children that were sacrificed here.
yeah, sounds about right.
The,
What were you doing? Were you jumping in the air? Oh, you're the
yeah,
ball. I didn't even see the soccer ball. Oh, that
doing a
makes a
backflip.
lot
It
more
was the
sense.
2014 World Cup. I got so off schedule at that house. I went horseback riding at this house.
Nice.
It was awesome.
That's a good time though. You know,
Philly and
money
Philly
comes and
cheesesteak.
go, but experiences, they last forever.
That's right. Look at this dog. So anyway,
Holy crap.
you just made me think of you just made me think
Aww.
of that's my little cousin. You made me think of these funny stories with like the funny shit that you see on people's porches. You're just like, what? Who buys this?
Yeah, 100%. You're just like, what
What you were saying earlier when you were talking about like that when people have certain things on their porch, you can tell 100% they're old. It reminds me of that commercial. Is it Progressive where he's like, "We're trying to avoid you from becoming your parents." And it's like the guy, and he's like, when you start doing things that your parents do, he's like, no.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I'm saying? That's one of them where it's like, if you are buying the third item that's similar to this, or that is in like, and you think to yourself, this looks cool, you're old. Like,
You know, it might be a good strategy if you want like book people to stay away. You just put a lot of old people stuff
but
like
then
on your porch.
but then cardinal people just show up.
Yeah, but then Cardinal people show up and they're like,
The
you need
bullseye
life
for cardinal
insurance?
people. You got so good at that. You walk around neighbors going, "These are my people now."
I literally showed up to lead card like I think it was last week, and there's like a bunch of little kids' toys outside, and I was like, this looks like 30-year-olds live here with babies. And I like knock on the door, and some mom with like this kid, he's like, hey, what you doing? And I was like, I'm here for this person. They're like, yeah, we get their mail all the time, like they don't live here anymore. And I was like, okay, cool, no worries. I was like, yeah, saw all the kids' toys, been doing this job long enough that I didn't think that there was an old person here. I was like,
This
if I were
doesn't
selling
seem
books,
like an old lady.
this would be great, but I'm not.
Yeah. If you need some mufus, hit me
I
up.
need some mufus. I got some people you can call.
All right, Amy, do we got a second batch of pictures here from NamJam? Dude, this is fun. I'm having a blast. Thanks for being here, Amy.
Yeah,
This is so fun.
glad we're finally doing my episode. This is Christian Best, if nobody knows Christian Best.
I love
Really
Christian.
cool
We
guy.
need to get him on the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude,
I'll
Christian's
text
the
him
best.
later.
Christian Best is the
So
best.
I lived with Christian, Martin Polipiak, and Devin Pewsley my third summer for the last like 3 weeks of the summer. And Christian and I somehow were just talking one night. He's like, yeah, I haven't deposited any of my cash from all summer. I was like,
Oh shit.
where are you keeping your cash, man? He's like, you know, in my doc kit. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we go in the
no.
bathroom and he just pulls out like a stack of cash, probably like this big. So then we're just like messing around with it, obviously. So we're just like messing around with it, like taking dumb pictures together. But that was in the basement of the HQ that summer. That was a good
Looking
time.
like drug dealers.
Exactly. Yep. It's
Great.
like
Look, there it
just
is
stealing
again.
books. There it is again. Mo money. I actually had to I had a whole bank fiasco that like, you know how they used to make you get the what are they called? The money orders.
Yeah, like the cashier's check.
So yeah. So I went my third summer to go get my money orders to like go turn in and everything. And Melanie's like, oh no, they're not doing money orders anymore. I'm like, why didn't they tell anyone? So then I had to go back to the bank and I had to go turn stuff in, but then they just gave me straight hundreds. So I was like, I'm gonna take a fan picture with these hundies. Like,
Let's go. That's at least $2,500, probably more.
No.
I count at least 20 bills,
Probably.
but some of them probably stacked on top of each other. So
Yeah, for sure. It's got to be like 2,500 or 3,000.
total flex. This should have gone on your Tinder when you were single. I would have totally been like, what the fuck?
Everyone would have thought I was dealing drugs or something.
Match.
So after I totaled my car, I don't know if there are car totaled pictures in this batch that I sent, but this was the new car I bought my fourth summer. So I bought
That's
Danny
nice.
Narvaez's, thanks. It's Momo. I still own Momo. He's a great
That's a nice car, yo. Damn.
Yeah. Got him for like 13,000 and he had 64,000 miles on him.
Oh, that's a great
Good
deal,
car.
especially nowadays. Holy shit! What? So is this 2020?
Yeah, it was like 12 or 13 grand. So it was very positive. This was 2020, yeah. So I bought Danny Narvaez's. Remember how I said my parents let me use their car that whole year after that summer?
Yeah.
So then I bought Danny Narvaez's old car, which was, it probably had like 200,000 miles on it. I bought it for like 1,500 or something, if that. And
So half
it
of the
was
fan money you had in the last picture.
half of the fan money I had in the last picture. And then like week 4 or 5, I like totaled it. 5, because actually I didn't total it. A deer hit me. So I didn't
Dude
hit the
totaled
deer.
himself.
Yeah. So I'm like driving on this, they called them black tops in Missouri, which is just a road that's paved,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a black top.
And
Oh yeah, I'm from the Midwest. We know. Ting.
yeah. So I'm driving on this blacktop, and the corn was actually like, you know how there's typically probably like anywhere from 3 to 6 feet before you get to the cornfield?
Oh yeah.
The corn was like a foot away from the road.
Yeah,
So
this is
like,
like back roads, Missouri. Yeah.
yeah.
All
And
been through
so
here.
I'm driving, and this deer just comes out of the corn and just takes out my transmission. And I was like, I was on my way to this night appointment. I like put over to the night appointment, and they're like, "Oh, we're actually not interested." And I was like, "Oh, I just totaled my car for you."
Do you know
And
what
so,
this cost me?
yeah, I had this rookie following me, and like she's like crying about her emotions, and then we hit a deer, and then I was like, and so I like
Great.
I'm like, okay, well, I think it's okay because I drove to this night appointment, so we should be okay. So I started driving back to the HQ, and then the engine light comes on. I was like, we're not okay. So I like pulled over. I called my host family dad, and I was like, hey, I'm getting my car towed. They just need cash. I was gonna pay for card, but they need cash. All my cash is in your house. And he's like, okay, where do I go to get the cash? I'll come and pick you up. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. Coolest host dad ever. His name is Mike Lilly. The Chapels actually lived with Mike Lilly. Their first child's name is Quincy because they live in Quincy, Illinois, and Jessica got pregnant there. So I don't know if you knew that story, but
I might have known this. But I'm excited to have them as a couple next month.
Yeah, now it's publicly on the air, so now they get to know that. But the Lillies, he's like on the phone with me and he's like, okay, where's the cash? And I was like, so I brought my flute. It's in my flute case in the desk. He's like, okay. So he like goes downstairs, he opens it, he's like, Naomi, whatever your middle name is, Kaufman. Because there was probably like 6 grand in cash in my flute case. Like just a lot of money. He's like, why do you have so much cash? And I was like, I'm selling books. Because then when
People
I
are
found out
stupid in
Christian,
Missouri. They need these damn books, bro. Come on.
I'm saying,
Come
I
on,
was
Mr.
like,
Lilly.
come on, Mr. Lilly. Because when I found out Christian didn't deposit any of his cash, I was like, well, if Christian doesn't do it, must be okay. So
It's not. If you're selling books right now and listening, go deposit your cash.
go deposit your cash. Yeah, 100%. Especially if you're a rookie, go deposit your cash.
Especially if you're a rookie, go deposit your cash for the love of God.
100%.
Keep enough for expenses, but then everything else remit for the love of God. Please do.
Please remit.
Don't
Yeah,
be stupid. That's how we get the
yeah,
horror stories. That's the biggest. You
really,
can't come back from that one.
100%. Do it. So he grabs like $250 or however much it was, comes pick us up. My car's toast. So then he helps me buy a new car. So I bought this car like the day after. Like I went in, and then two of the salesmen at the dealership bought, actually 3. And
Nice.
yeah. So it was like, it sucked,
And
but
then they
it
bought.
worked out. And then
Total
they bought.
ponies.
Total ponies. So the guy who I bought the car from bought a cookbook because he had no kids or grandkids. And then the guy that was like the head honcho at the place, he bought an adventure library. So that's the day I went to Iowa because he was actually in Iowa. And so I delivered the books in Iowa. So I got to check it off of one of my 50 states. I'm trying to hit all 50 states by the time I'm 30. I'm at 38 right now. So I got 12 more left, and I'm 24 right now. So
Let's go.
yeah. And then the other guy bought, but he almost didn't buy. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I need to like talk to my wife. And one of the other guys in the car dealership was like, oh, hey man, what's that? Is that your balls rolling on the floor? Like, you need to pick those up, man. And then he bought. Because he was like, I guess I don't need to check with my wife.
Just buy books for your kids.
just because your coworker's questioning your manhood. Like,
pressure. That's no buying atmosphere. That's some straight up bullying into it. But you didn't do it, so it's all good. You gave
yeah,
him the buying atmosphere.
100%. So he bought two. They both bought Adventure Library, so it was a good time. Or I think he bought a half, but still, he spent like $300. So that was nice. So yeah, that was that new car that I got. I love Momo. More cash. Just every summer, I was like, let's just pull Christian. And so I came to
Just
my room because I
Hold on
like,
your cash.
yeah, Vivian was in my room helping me deliver, and obviously I'm exhausted because my eyes are shut in this picture. The more tired I get, the more toxins I get in my body. My Asian genes come through, so you can't see my eyeballs. But I was like, look at my money.
But you get smarter, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Listen, some people would be like, "That's racist," but it's like, honestly, if I was Asian and people knew me for being smart, I take it. Listen, I'm Colombian. I get if I have cocaine every other day, so fuck off with this.
F off, yeah, man. And then my dad actually came and helped me deliver my books for 1 or 2 days my last summer. So I always thought about like flying my mom up to help me, but then my dad was like, I'll come to Indiana because he's from Indiana. So my dad took this picture because I was like, well, I don't have any deliveries to make right now, so I'm gonna go cold knock. And he's like, okay, I'll stay in the car. And so he's like,
How wild.
he was like, you just walk up. You don't care about anything. I was like, yeah. Like, uh-huh. So he like took this picture and he was just like, okay. So he took this picture of me. So I thought that was funny because that's like a
Let's zoom in
typical
on
like
this.
thing. That's what you see on the book field. So as you can
This
see,
is
all
a sit down.
my car is decorated. Yep, that's a sit down.
Zoom in on this. Zoom in on this, Amy, if you can. There's NamJam.
Look how fat this person is. You see how fat they are?
Yeah.
Solid 400 pounds.
No doubt. That chair is having a hard time.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Look at that. This is if you want to see in the wild a book person. This is it. People think it's like, oh, you get to sit in the house and it's air conditioned and everything's tidy across the kitchen table and everybody's nice. Nah, this is it right here. This is a sit down right here. This is you are on the money. You're on schedule right here. This is you're crushing it.
Heck yeah. That's me. I was not getting a smoothie.
The number of sit downs I've had on driveways while people just chilled in the shade.
Yo,
and then they bought.
And then you're sweating like the whole time.
Yeah.
Actually, these ones did not buy, but I thought it was a good picture of like what the book field looks like, you know?
Yeah, this is it. Again, this is like that's the house. What I'm saying is like that house could equally have bought. Like you don't know what they look like. You want to start judging homes where it's like, oh, they have a nicer porch, or their lawn's more mowed than the other. Nope. Honestly,
the only homes you judge are the ones with old people shit in the yard. Yeah, because then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, with 3 gooses. With
3 geese. Yeah.
It's my second language.
It's a typical sit down.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, I don't know if I sent more. This baby was so cute. They bought the Adventure Library and then a 5 books, so they probably spent like $2,000.
And just chilling on top. Oh man, I forgot the prices went up. That was only like $800 when I was selling.
Yeah, well, the Adventure Library I think is about $600.
No,
at least like my last summer that I sold. Yeah,
it was $350.
I mean, it's still 26 books, so like I think that's with taxes and shipping too. So 600 divided by 26.
Right,
yeah,
it was
still $23 a book. That's not bad, right?
No, it's not. But it was $349 after taxes. Like I had.
Oh wow!
And then
Talk
the 5 set.
Inflation.
Yeah, and the 4 set was $420, and then the 6 set was $680 after tax. So if they bought everything plus the CA, it was like $1,200. So that was my big, and I had a couple of them.
Oh wow!
In my career, yeah.
Nice.
Big.
Yeah, I just thought she was cute. Oh, so this is a customer that Vivian and I got pretty messed up at before we went to Barry Hart's dinner.
You gotta love it.
I don't know how much I'll promote this on my social media. Maybe people won't listen this long in the episode. Hopefully my mom doesn't. They were growing Mary Jane in their cornfield.
Is
like,
that the
in the
one you took a
back.
shit on? Give it
No,
better.
it's not the one I took a shit in. It's not.
Give it a
Um,
better bud.
Yeah, so we all had a good time together. It was a good time. So
Yeah, we
their
don't need to
dog's
know
name
what
was
happened.
their dog's name was Kush. And so when I sold them the books, actually her mom bought half of the library and they bought the other half of the library. And so their dog's name was Kush, and I was like, "Yo, your dog's name is Kush? Like, that's hilarious. I guess you guys like Kush, huh?" He's like, "Yeah,
They're like,
check
"You had
out
no
the
idea."
cornfield." So they were really fun. They were really cool people. So it was a good time. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
there's
It's
a
legal in
drive in the
Indiana
book
by now,
nature.
so
I tried this test. This might be a little too TMI, but I tried this test of like I wondered if I like sold more or less books wearing a bra or not.
same, actually. Same.
So like my
No, we
last
need to
summer,
know.
Andres, I hated my life my last summer. I did it
Yeah,
was
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to why you left, and then we'll close it. But
yeah, it was like it was a whole thing. So I just had
this
to
is when
do
you had
things
the
to
test.
entertain myself. So I was like, all right, well, like I wonder, like all of them are dirty. Like I won't wear one today. We'll see what happens. I produced like the exact same of my normal amount. I
Oh,
was
so
like, makes no difference, I guess.
did
I
you
was
get
like,
did you get less dad objections though? Did you notice that?
I did. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
That'd actually be an interesting. Like, I'm not saying people should go find this out, but I would have been curious to see if like the dads were less resistant on those days. Because sometimes you get those dads that they're like, "You're giving me extra objections. Your wife's totally into it, and your kids for sure are going to use this." Like, you can, when the kids like, "This is sweet," I know, and then the
And
dad's
you're
still
just
being.
like, what?
I
Excuse me,
couldn't be
Mr.
like
Jones?
that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in the spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. That's okay. And actually, and this is good to, I had Nick kind of explain this a little bit too, but it's because I've been in the insurance industry before. For people who are listening, like, how do you make 115% commission?
The way I explain it to people is the insurance companies we represent. So we're a broker. All these companies we work with, they know they're not really going to be making any money off the sales that I make for the first several years. But they don't care about that. They know these clients are going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So they know they're going to make money over the long haul. And so part of the reason agents are able to make so much is there's all these companies out here, and they're all competing for the broker's business, because these companies don't actually have their own in-house sales force. They have independent contractors. And so if their compensation or their commission levels that they offer aren't competitive, I'm not going to place any business with them.
Yo, let's get off schedule one last time. Go watch a movie, or maybe you should figure out how to work at EnLight.Energy. Alex Black is crushing it down there, and a former DSM, Julio Hernandez, are both running this company. And man, they are cranking 10 people on their team and growing. It's enough that Alex only has to sell like one thing every other week and make over 6 figures. So if you want to learn more about that and maybe help change the planet, click on the link below. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show.
You know what's fun
Naomi.
is, so Zane Gallagher, right? We're doing this arbitrage thing with Braxton, and he goes in the Wells Fargo branch, and he's like opening his bank accounts to do the arbitrage stuff, and he's like, yeah, Naomi, this like bank teller was just like such a butthead. Like, I just told him I wanted these prime accounts. He wouldn't give them to me. I was like, well, Zane, why did you go to a male teller? First off, I'm like, you're a cute dude. Sometimes it's just the world we live in, but sometimes you just got to use what you got. So just go to female tellers in the future.
And flex, bro. Flex.
Yeah, I was like, just flex, man. So yeah, that was that family. They were really cool, crazy kids for sure. That was my last summer. That was my 5th summer. So I
Look at
still
that.
hit growth. That was a good time. New beginnings because I knew I was leaving, and I was like, let's
So-
have some new beginnings.
So let's talk about well, I also wanted to do the story about when I first met you because that's I think worth. I mean, we talked about this last time, but it's really funny to me still how I first met you, and then I wanted to go into why you left Southwestern. Do you mind? I'll tell the story if you want to, but
Yeah,
it's
no, tell
hilarious.
the story of how we first met, and I'll tell you why I left.
So this is funny. So I thought it was just funny to show this right here. I think highlights how the book world and network kind of works. But long story short, Seth Hood and I were hanging out in Lincoln, Nebraska, and this is right straight during the pandemic. This is like December 2020,
December.
and it's like cold. And Seth Hood is the kind of person that he's an amazing book guy from the standpoint of he's amazing at solving problems, finding the positives, and just making it work.
Happen. Yeah.
From the standpoint of having a plan and being ahead of the game and just having a solid like strategy set up. I don't know about now 2 years later, but back then, was still growing in that department. What I mean by that is he goes, oh shit, he's over my house. We're just playing like some board games. And he goes, I need to get to Salt Lake City by tomorrow. And I'm like, Seth, the interstates are icy. It's been snowing all week. You don't even have a flight set up? No.
His car was broken.
And his car was broken. And I'm like, Seth, how long have you been wanting to make this trip? He goes like, oh, I don't know, like since checkout. You're just not trying to figure this out? Yeah. And I shit you not, as we're talking about this, he gets a call from NamJam or Kimmy, one of you two, and you guys are taking a road trip from Orlando to Salt Lake City, Utah. And this is at like 11 in the morning or early afternoon, maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And you're like, hey, what's up? We're just driving through. We're going to be going through Nebraska because that's on the way to Utah. So we wanted to see if we could hang out with you and maybe have a place to crash. And I have never met you. I know Kimmy vaguely through like we've met a couple of times in person, but it's not like I've had a conversation with Kimmy in any extensive form.
We were going to say at Kelsey Kilpatrick's, and she's like, if you want to hang out with people, Seth and Andres are in town.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I know Seth. I'll hang out with Seth.
And we didn't know each other. Like it was, I mean, again, so Seth's like, you can come here. And I was like, of course, both people are coming through. You need a place to crash for the night. You're driving through. I'm like, yeah, fucking come on over. And then at that moment, Seth's like, hey, where are you going again? And you're like, Utah. And he goes, by tomorrow. And I just look at Seth and I'm like, dude, this is how the world of book people work. It's just a fucking course, a Hail Mary miracle. You had no business calling. Like you could have totally not let us know that you were coming into town. You could have totally stayed at Kelsey's. We would have never known. Maybe you would have got dinner. Maybe. But you call when Seth and I are talking specifically. My roommates are going Collins out of town.
Tickets, I think.
Yeah.
He was looking.
And I'm like, well, there you go. Just ride with them. And you just come through. You stay at my house. We have a blast. It was so funny. At this point, the podcast had already started. So we were talking about like how we were just talking to people about selling books. Sort of. This is a very early, like we were 3 episodes in at this point.
Meredith Gardner had just recorded, and you're like, watch this. And like, we're all like, not.
No.
We're all just like really tired. Kenzie fell asleep. We go get Taco Bell. I was like, I just want to eat Taco Bell right now.
It was.
I had my first snow cone with you with the Mio.
So for people who don't know, it had like I was living in a second floor. It was like a 2-story apartment kind of. Long story short, on our porch, it had snowed like the way that the building was set up. It had snowed like a total of probably maybe 20 inches that night. But like because of where we were situated, it was up to like the top of the door. So you would literally open our porch door. I don't know if you remember this, and up to like your chest was covered in snow on my porch. And so you just go out there and just grab a scoop. Oh, what a time. What a time, bro. Yeah. I loved it.
Great times.
Loved it. So it was great. Little did we know.
Yeah, right?
We'd end up partying in Bisler and chilling out on this podcast. Look how far we've come, both of us.
Yeah, we've worked together for over a year now, you know?
Now I live in Portland. I'm married.
Crazy.
Wild. You're crushing
Good
it
times.
in life. Good shit, girl. All right. Why'd you leave? Tell me. You were talking about, you referred to this a little bit earlier. You alluded to this with the Kool-Aid and the drinking of the Kool-Aid and kind of realizing you needed to kind of step back a little bit. Talk to me through this, and then we can go into some ponytails.
Yeah. So, okay. What was the order of events? So I recruited my tail off. My John Stewart was coaching me that last semester of recruiting that I did. And I was actually like kind of crushing it. Unfortunately, my show percentage to sales school was not terrific. However, I was definitely like crushing it in the spring and, you know, went to GRS2 where I was like, oh, you're so great because you're producing. As Rao does, she's like, if you're producing, you're my star child. If you're not, then don't talk to me. I'm just kidding, but we love Rao. Actually, I grew in a ton of respect for Rao as like the years went on, and we got to build our relationship a little bit more. So I respect that man a crap ton. He's awesome, but he
Very respectable
definitely.
dude.
You know, when you produce more in a sales industry, you get more attention. That's just how it is.
Yep. It has nothing to do with bras or no bras. It has to do with straight up production.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, there was just, well, one, a lot of drama going on. I had broken up with my ex. My best friend at the time, she gave me an ultimatum of like, well, you know, I can't be friends with you if you're going to be friends with this person, so you need to pick. And I was like, that's just kind of messed up. I don't do that. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, but like that's just not, I think, how, you know, like I don't think that's a Christ-like thing for me to make a decision like that. And, you know, that's when people give you ultimatums, like they're just giving you the answer. You know what I mean? And so there was that. So like I lost my long-term relationship, which I mean ended up being okay because I mean I broke up with him, so it's fine. And then but it was still like, you know, removing someone that's been in your life for a very long time. Then my best friend at the time kind of fired me as their best friend. And then I meanwhile I was like still trying to like grind and hustle, and there's just a lot of life stuff going on. And then I kind of just had like a mental breakdown. Um, I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday, and I had called my DSM, and I was just like, "Hey, like I just need to express this to you. Like I don't know if this is my last summer. I don't know if this is like, you know, maybe I'll be around, but like you have me as an OL, and like they had created this rule that like if you're an OL, you have to come back the following summer. However, I don't think that they always followed that rule because there were some people that were probably, it felt as if on my perspective that there were more favorites. And so even if that was the rule, it didn't apply to everybody, right? But I knew that that was kind of a thing that they talked about. So I was like, well, let me at least communicate and do the right thing on my end that like I don't know if I'll be around for 2 more years. And my DSM had just assured me of like, no, Naomi, like it's okay, like, you know, I trust your ability to like be in OL, like you're gonna crush it, like it's fine, like I believe in you, all these things. And then the next day, my name was taken off the OL sheet and my co-OL was put as the OL. So you actually usually get org pay, and so I kind of got my pay docked. And then, but more importantly, because I didn't even know that until after the summer, more importantly, I felt as if the words of I believe in you and it's going to be okay were not put to action.
Or we're empty.
Right.
And for people listening to this story who might not know what that means for org pay is, your first summer, you're just you're worried about your sales. Your second summer, you are worried about your sales, and then anybody else you might have brought along, usually 1 or 2 people, sometimes 10. but you're trying to help them succeed. But then by the third summer, you have other managers who are also in your org or organization, as we call it. And that's a group of like 20 to 30 people. So it's your team plus another manager's team plus another manager's team. And that's kind of the group of people that you mainly meet on Sundays with throughout the summer. And typically there's an org leader that essentially gets paid depending on how well that org does for the summer. And there's like a scale slider thing. We'd have to get into the details. But the point is, it is a pay cut. And it's also a strong statement in saying you are no longer a leader with our organization. We're going to give that to someone else who can commit to more summers, which also feels a little betrayalish, I guess, for lack of a better word, or it feels a little backstabby.
It just didn't feel good.
No, yeah, especially from coming from people who are your leaders that you look up to, who are your mentors,
and that you put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
In 4 summers before this, you've cried, you've hurt, you've bled, literally. You've shit on cornfields.
You've shit on cornfields, yeah.
Wiped your ass with corn leaves. Come on, yo.
Yeah, 100%. And so then I was like, okay, well, this definitely doesn't make me feel good. Let me go and communicate with my DSM about how I feel, because that hurt my feelings. Like that, and so I sat down with them and I was like, hey, I want to schedule a meeting with you. And of course, like, to the benefit of their doubt, like, they had a lot going on with the sales school stuff being changed, and their child went to the emergency room like a couple days prior. So benefit of the doubt, they may have not been as present with me on the phone, but I truly believe if you're a DSM and you claim that you are, there for your people, when you're on the phone with your people, that person you're on the phone with is the most important person in the world for that 30 minutes.
And they preach that even when you're selling books. Like,
right.
Mom is the most important thing. That family is the most important thing, no matter what's going on in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you kind of like
that's
have
not
to learn.
Unreasonable. That's not unreasonable for you to expect, given that that's what they coach and teach for a sales process. Yeah.
Right. And yeah. So then I was like, hey, like, I saw that this happened. This is how this made me feel. And they came back at me with, well, like, a title just like shouldn't be like what you tie your self-worth to. And
not the right thing to say.
Yeah, I don't think that's the exact verbiage, but it was very much like, well, a title shouldn't be, it's like a title shouldn't be like how you find yourself successful or how you deem yourself like a good human being, or like, you know what I mean? But they were blaming it on like the title and me attaching myself to the title. And I was like, sure. I mean, like, I've worked for years to get here, and like other people have gotten here faster because of opportunities given. And like, I've just like, you said you believed in me, and like now I just feel like the actions don't line up, and that rubs me wrong. And here I am trying to communicate this with you, and you just come back out with me that it's my fault. So
also, it's suspicious that this is coming right after I told you I don't want to come back for another summer. Like, maybe what you're saying is true, but optically it doesn't feel like that, because if I hadn't said anything about me coming back until the end of the summer, would this be happening right now? Probably not, but whatever.
Yeah. So then I was like, well, in that instant, that moment, I was like, I'm effing done. I'm done. So that's when I knew that I was not coming back. So.
And then what point of the summer is this, or what point of the?
This was in April before we left for the summer. So this was right before 2021. Yeah, no. Then I went to sales school, and then my co-OL and I, we both had not a large enough org. It was going to be like 13 people, which I was trying to convince them to let us run an org anyway, because there are plenty of orgs that do only have like 13 people. Like a lot of European orgs do that.
Yeah.
And they just like weren't having it. So they merged my org with a different org. And I just like, I'm driving to sales school. I'm like, okay, well, like, let's have a positive attitude about this. Like, this is all that, like, this is just the cards and how they were dealt. So like, all you can do is all you can do, whatever. So I'm driving to sales school. I have a phone call with the other OL I'm going to be working with. And I hop on the phone. I'm like, hey, like, so excited to work with you. Like, this is going to be great. We're going to have so many top producers. And they're like, yeah, 100%. But first, like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm still mad at you for you gossiping about me when you, like, after your rookie summer. And I was like, I'm sorry, I did not know that this was a thing. Like, could you mind explaining to me what's going on?
From
And
2017, you had COVID for a year. What are you
from
doing?
2017. This is why, like, I don't get females as much. Like, I have 3 guy roommates. Like, most of my friends are dudes. Like, I just like females. Like, I don't know what we're bred with, but we're kind of crazy. So I was like, so yeah, I'm on the phone with her and I was like, okay, like what's going on? She's like, well, like you just like talked crap about me about like treating certain people a certain way. And it was because I felt that person was kind of like mean to my ex-boyfriend that I at the time was dating. So I had verbalized this to someone else. And yes, should I have gone directly to the person? Of course. But was I 19? Yes. Was this 4 years ago? Yes. Did I know people were capable of holding on to things for that long? No.
You
And
trying to
then,
just do your best after getting shit on as a
yeah.
walker for 3 months?
And we've also been in the same like district organization together for 4 years. We went on a mission trip. Like, you didn't think about bringing this up to me until we were running an org together? Like, what? Like, I didn't even know you were mad at me. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it was like a subconscious level, but I just felt as if like this person more was just really kind of had it in for me for that summer. And I don't even think it was 100% conscious because I don't think like on a conscious level that person would try and do that. But I think something subconscious is going on in the background of like, Naomi's a threat. Naomi's not like, you know,
Not to be trusted.
not to be trusted, all these things, right? And so it just like I lived like my first week, I had this B contract girl that I was really trying to help and she had mental health problems and she was like, Naomi, like it's kind of like disheartening when you're super positive. And I was like, okay, I'll be less positive. And then she went to the OL and was like, Naomi's just really negative. And I was like, there's no pleasing anyone right now. What is going on? And so
Shit, man.
luckily that summer I was working with Stephen Kamika and he was really my only like friend in solitude that entire summer. But like I just, I had Austin Souders like coaching me and I was like trying to like help the org out and it would just be like, well, no, well, no, well, no. And then they would take like 2 days to figure out a new HQ situation. And they'd be like, all right, here, Naomi, this is a HQ situation. If you can find something better in the next 5 minutes, we'll do it. And I'm like, you just worked on this for 2 whole days. You're going to give me 5 minutes to come up with something better for my living situation? Okay. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
was
it's
living
kinda
with 3
rough.
walkers. You know what I mean? It was just like 3 walkers, a B contract with mental health problems that I was genuinely like really I asked for that person to be in my org and I asked for that person to live with me so that I could try and help. And then it was in the background. I was not necessarily being spoken about positively. And it ended up just being like, okay, 1, keep trying to like butt heads with like this org and like trying to help out, or 2, just Austin told me to protect my peace and just sit in the back and do my best and sell a lot of books and just do my summer. And those were kind of just my only 2 options. So I sat in the back. I did my best. I worked on protecting my peace. Whenever I got asked opinion questions, I'd be like, okay, do you actually want my opinion? Or you just made up your mind and you're just trying to be like cordial by asking my opinion? Because that's just not how this works. I'm
Right.
sorry. So that whole summer was just honestly a shit show. I cried so much. It was I really felt that it was going to be a summer of like freedom for me and like learning like, because I had just lost a lot of like friendships and attachments and all these things and I wanted it to be a summer of freedom. And never in my life have I felt, probably since 2015 where I had a lot of problems with my parents, I've never felt more in chains and like locked in the place that I was and that I couldn't escape. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
know
then I tried to switch my mentality from like summer of freedom to summer of peace and learning to have peace and joy in the situation that I was in and trying to cultivate that for myself in my life versus being upset with my situation because I couldn't change it. And I mean, even toward the end of the summer, like I wasn't going to the Sunday meetings. My back hurt too much. I retore my back injury that summer. And yeah, it was just not the best. And So I was like, well, like I retore my back injury. It's not beneficial for me to be in the car for multiple hours. I'm already in the car for 80 hours a week. Like I'm just not going to add Sunday meetings to that. And that was like toward the end of the summer. So that was that summer. And then I came back and, had that exiting PC that you have with your DSM. And they said not some nice things, like that people didn't respect me anymore. And that I had some kind of attitude. And I was like, this is my situation. Like, you didn't talk to me all summer. And you just talked to other people that were talking about me. And I get that. But, like, you didn't talk to me all summer. And, like, I think you're upset with me because I just called you out on some of your shit. And as a leader, you probably just don't like that. And,
refer to
I'm
Matt
sorry.
Atchis' episode for that intense conversation. Yeah.
Right. So that was
Crazy.
that's kind of what that summer looked like. And so I even verified, they're like, oh, well, even when you asked our secretary for your checkout ticket, you sounded super entitled and bratty and all these things. And my secretary, Melanie Howell, is like one of my best friends. And I went up to Melanie. I was like, hey, like, just a question. Like, when I asked for my checkout ticket, did that come across like incorrectly? Like, do you think I was asking in a rude way or anything? She's like, no. You know what I mean? So it was just like all this
Yeah, there's like some Southwestern drama that just peeks in.
yeah. So it was just like a sticky situation. And like, I don't think people were intentional with the hurt that they were causing me. I just don't. I think that sometimes now that I've been out of Southwestern for over a year, it's like you kind of see this like mental block that, like when you're still in, like, I don't know if it's the Kool-Aid, I don't know what. I mean, it's still a great program. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really good for college students to do during the summer. But I think you have to be careful and you got to protect yourself too. It's just like it's anything
And
that you do in the world.
and before someone listening gets mad at us because it's like my friends just listen to this. Listen, it's not like that in every org or in every even group of people. Sometimes it's
Oh
just that's
yeah.
the attitude in a campus. It's a whole different experience for like Europeans, or at least enough for like my brother's kids. Like they don't in Lincoln, they don't really experience this. But I know of, and after talking to 180 people about this, this is not unique to you. You know what I mean? This has
Well, and
happened.
shout out to
This is
like
not
Matt
new. Yeah.
Ross. Shout out to Matt Ross because I even went to him during that checkout and I was like, I don't know why this DSM said all these things to me and like it really hurt my feelings. And like he's like, I don't see why they said that to you either. Like they don't really have a reason to. Like they should just leave you in a good mood because you're leaving. And they were like, well, I don't want you to be a negative alumni. I'm like, why are you speaking that into my life? Like, when have I ever been negative about
And
Southwestern? Like,
here's the crazy part. Like I would say, and most people listening that are fans that are alumni would say, you're not really being negative. You're just speaking what happened to you and your experience, right? But there's people who
right.
would listen to this and go, "Oh, this is super neg," and I'm like, if this is neg, you're part. Like this is who we're talking about. You're probably the person that goes, I can't accept reality of when people are upset. I can't accept being held accountable for things I need to grow in because I'm a 20 some odd year old. I've been doing this since I was in my 20s, and now and this is something that I've never been challenged in because I grew in this culture, and now this is the issue, right? Like, but people need to learn as leaders. People suck as leaders, and part of that, those people are in Southwestern. And from my brother to any other DSM, they have weaknesses and they have things they need to grow and work on, right? So that's
Yeah.
just part of the deal, and it's okay when nobody's talking shit about you. We're just talking about, hey, this is the experience that you had. This is how you were made to feel, and it doesn't necessarily reflect even poorly on whoever the DSM was or whoever your friend was or your ex-boyfriend was. You're not. This isn't that. It's more like, hey, this is how I felt. This is the experience that I had, and this is why I left. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's fair.
And I think probably is part of my problem too, because I probably idolized and put Southwestern too much on a pedestal throughout my college career, And so it's like kind of when you realize that people are human and it's a business run by humans, and humans outside of God's perfect love are imperfect and don't know how to properly love and cherish and hold on to people the way that they should be, then like, without that grace, you can't have you can't have proper relationships. There are going to be things that are messed up. Like it's
Yeah.
just how it is, you know.
Yep. That's why, and again, I'm not, I don't mean to refer this to a second time, but that's one of the things about the Matt Atchison episode from like 2 years ago that was so crazy was he like literally told us about the time he got sat down by some of the top org leaders in the company, which were all part of the force because the force was crushing it at the time. And they're like, here's why you suck, and here's why we're mad, essentially. And they just destroyed him at the Renaissance Hotel at GRS at the top of the escalator, and the couch is right next to it, and they just shredded him. And he talks about how that was such an impactful moment in his life because he like decided to choose to look at it from a standpoint of this is what I need. Like the people I care about and that I lead are telling me this, and this is people I look up to as well. Like Yvette Grant, these are people who sat down with him and like, hey Matt, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is what you need to fix. And he embraced it. You know, he could have had a poor attitude about it too. It sounds like maybe that's something that happened to you or that you experienced with some of the people in your life, but it's a big person. It takes a big person to just hone that in and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to. And you were wrong too in some things too, probably. You know, there's probably things that you did that weren't
Nobody's
perfect.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. But admitting that is a lot more important than trying to pin it on something else or deny it or avoid it. So
Yeah.
bam.
So overall, just kind of a messed up situation that last year, and you know, I just kind of was
Now you're here.
outgrowing all of that, and here I am, and I'm really thankful for where I'm at now too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you're doing great. And when you
Thanks.
called me and you wanted to be a part of the show, like we had that conversation. You're like, yeah, how do I help? I think I got something to give. And I was like, sure, let's talk. I was literally like,
oh yeah, I called you on the way home from checkout, and I was actually all of this stuff I was puking to you about all of these things. I was so upset. It was crazy. But yeah.
And it was great because I'm like, good. Welcome to what we do. We're here to talk about these experiences, good and bad. And hopefully people who listen can learn and use it as a lesson too in their personal lives about how to treat themselves, how other people should treat them. And if you're a leader listening to this going, am I doing this? Do I need to be like Matt? Probably. Good shit, girl.
Pony story?
Ponytails. Let's go. Oh, wait. Hold on. I got one segment, and these are rapid fire questions. We forgot we're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you these rapid fire questions. All right. You ready?
Okay.
Favorite territory from a standpoint of state that you sold in or city that you sold in?
Missouri. Hands down.
Favorite type of turf? Country, big break, small break, somewhere in the middle specifically?
Upper middle class country.
Everybody says that. I feel like there's something to that. Favorite advanced sales tape?
Roger Sipe, keynote speech.
Hey, go check out Roger Sipe's episode right there too. Favorite HQ?
Mama Brit, probably just because they loved me. They literally like bought me sushi all the time. Like Martin lived with them that summer that I lived with Martin. And then for the last 3 weeks, that was my HQ for my first summer. So she rehosted, and then I got to live with them again. I'm still friends with their daughter and their family, and we're friends on Facebook. We talk, like we catch up every once in a while. So family,
Mama
them,
Brit.
house situation, probably the Lilies that were in Illinois that the Chapels lived at too. They just had a really nice pool, whole downstairs. Like it was very private, downstairs kitchen, downstairs bathroom, like noise. But shout out to Mama Brit.
HQ.
Mama Brit was the GOAT for sure.
Love it. Favorite product to sell or tack on?
I really liked the SAT ACT prep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's been saying that. I'm me too. It's CEA.
Yeah. It was so good. Yeah, that's probably the best product. It made the most sense to buy.
Absolutely. Favorite overall summer?
2020, summer number 4.
The Pandy year.
Pandy year. Yeah.
Best sales day, whether that be for production and or like just general, like that was my favorite day on the book field. That was the best day I've ever had.
Best production day, like 366 units, something like that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's a big day.
Yeah, something in that range. I remember I beat John's best day by like 12 units or something. He was so annoyed.
360 something. So
yeah,
that's like, times 8 today in today's dollars. That's like $2,500
yeah,
in one day.
Yeah,
not a bad day.
was a really fun day. And that was the week after I got punched in the face. So that was really good. That's on the Halloween episode as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the week after I got punched in the face, I had my best week at the time. So it was like 700 something. I think my best week overall was 966 my 5th summer, and that didn't include my lead units. Lead product became a big. I sold lead my 5th year.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And then favorite breakfast spot.
Oh gosh, probably Roosters in Wisconsin. They had this toast that I literally had dreams about after. Like this toast, man, it was homemade
Where in
bread.
Wisconsin?
Dude, it was in Racine, Wisconsin. This is when I lived with Drea and Maddie Fector. It was the 3 of us. Dude, this bread was so good. It was homemade bread. They buttered both sides and they grilled the toast. This crap was so good. Is that the place? Did you look it
This
up?
is the place.
Roosters? Yeah, that's it. Look at that bread. That to the right, that picture right there. That's that bread. That bread is
Oh.
so good. I literally had a dream before leaving the book field that second summer, and I like was trying to go into the restaurant and buy this bread. And I was like, "Hey, I would like to buy a loaf of bread." And they're like, "It's $25." And I was like, $25? That's ridiculous. This is a dream I was having. I was like, that's a ridiculous amount for a loaf of bread. And they're like, yeah, we know, but it's really good. And the whole dream was me debating if I should spend the $25 on the that's where we did execs, right there in that parking lot. Man, that's crazy. That's Roosters, man. So if you're listening, you should go look up this place because this place is dank.
We have it
They
on the
got
screen.
best toast. So yeah, this whole dream, I was like dreaming about if I should actually spend the money on this loaf of bread, and I was like, but it's worth it because this bread is so good. I was like, well, I don't cook it the same they cook it, like they got this grill that they grill it on, and just like they got the best toast.
Look at that. The money.
Yeah.
Roosters Family Restaurant.
Great breakfast spot. That back parking lot to that right, that's where we did execs every day.
There's a sheriff pulling somebody over being an asshole. Breakfast at Cox. That's what the kids called it.
That's what the kids called it. So yeah, really good restaurant.
Love it. All right. NamJam, it's time for the ponytails. For you guys who don't know, if you made it this far, this is one of their favorite stories of the book field that people have. So our guests are asked to just save their best stories for last. Sometimes the last 5 minutes, sometimes the last 20, 30 minutes. They're all great. We're making a compilation of these and releasing it as a separate episode, probably at some point down later in the year, just because there's so many good ones to choose from. We might just pick our favorite 10 as we approach the 200th episode, which is going to happen during the season. I believe March 2nd. It'll be our 200th episode. So hopefully you guys, this is something new that we've been promoting on season 8 is as we approach 200 and you guys are listening, let us know if you have favorites and we can start compiling a list of favorite book stories and ponytails to release at some point later this year as a bonus episode because, we've had a blast so far getting up to 200 here. So this is Naomi Kaufman's Ponytails.
Booyah. I'll try and make it quick because I gotta go to bed here soon. Eastern Standard Time vibe.
That's right.
Okay, so I'll back up. I think I don't know if I told this story on the St. Patty's Day episode.
The story you shared with us that was most memorable was the punching in the face. I don't recall the rest because we were drinking.
Okay, fair enough.
And off 4 to 10.
Fair enough. Well, this story, so basically, I'm gonna back up a week before the story. So a week before the story, I had to sit down with this like grandparents and they had twins as kids. This was actually my last summer. Dude, Missouri was lit. Like Missouri was the best. In 8 weeks, I sold like 4,100 units. I hit PC like 3 times, I think. So that was like definitely like higher level production summer. I still beat it my 5th summer. I still hit growth and everything, but I did 12 weeks. So like, and that's the summer I hated my life. So it was like I beat it, but like not really because I had more weeks that summer.
Yeah.
Because we had less weeks, COVID summer. So, I yeah, so this is leading up to my best day on my last summer. So, well, that fourth summer, man, that was good too. So many pony stories, man. Um, there are just so many. When you sell like all the time for like many years, like you just run into like whack stories of people selling. I mean, even with Cardinal the other day, I zeroed on Tuesday and I was pissed. And my first appointment submitted 5 applications. That's the equivalent of 5 customers in one house
Yeah.
selling
So
books.
when
I
you
was
walk
like,
up to the barbecue on July 4th and they all buy.
yep, exactly. So, we'll just go with the one for my 5th summer. So the week before, I sit down with this family. They have twins. I like quote them for I'm going over like the science and the math, but I don't drop the price because they're kind of like, oh, well, we need Pops, and Pops is on the lawnmower. I was like, well, let's go grab Pops, and they're like, no, we can't bother Pops while he's mowing the lawn. Are you
Come on, man.
crazy?
What's
That's
wrong with you?
Pops time. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna drop the price then, because that's a suicide call. So
Amen.
yeah. So I end up showing it to them. The kids are like, yeah, we definitely use it. And I'm like, all right, well, sorry, if you don't get Pops, I'm not gonna share the price. So I leave, right? And they're like, come back on Saturday morning. I was like, okay, maybe. And they were like, but it has to be before 12. And so I was like running around on Saturday as you do between all of your callbacks, and I wasn't there before 12. And I just wasn't gonna spend my time going there. Whatever. Fast forward, I had this other lady that I had booked appointment for the next week. That next week, I just like really wanted to surrender everything to God and just like chill out and like not, think twice about things. And that ended up being my best week ever in the book field. But it was just kind of like when you're in your flow state, you're just kind of going through the process and you're just flowing. And that last night I had this appointment and I had sold a lead and an SAT, ACT prep to the family prior. So I was late for my appointment. So I'm like messaging her back on Facebook. She's like, are you coming? Where are you? And I was like, I'm at this other house. I'm wrapping up with them. They're buying stuff right now. I'm sorry. I'll be there in a minute. And she's like, okay, my mom's here. She's waiting for you to come too. Like, we wanted my mom to come. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know why
Let's
you
go.
want your mom there, but okay. And so I'm like with this family that's buying a large package. So I'm like, I'm not going to lose money right now for potentially making money. Right. And so I wrap up with them and I get there like 45 minutes late. I get there at 9:45 p.m. And I had already had like 4-5 customers at this point. And it's Saturday night and I'm like at this house and she needed to wait until her husband was there because she didn't read and write. And so because she didn't read and write, yeah, Missouri. Because she didn't read or write, she needed her husband there because he actually handled most of the educational stuff, but he was a trucker, so he was gone a lot. So he came back on the weekend, and then I was sitting down with them, and she's like, dang it, like, you miss my mom. And I'm like, why do you want your mom here? Like, you're an adult. Like, you don't need books. Like, I'm just confused this whole time. And she's like, let me text her, tell her that you're here. I'm like, okay, like why does this matter? Like, okay, whatever. Can you pay attention to the sit down, please, instead of texting your mom? Because I'm trying to talk about your kids and their education. And we're sitting in the living room. They're on the couches. I'm on the floor, and I'm just like talking to them. She's like, oh, my mom answered, like, can you, I'm like in the middle of the intro. And she's like, oh, can you just talk to them real quick? And I'm like, they want to know how much the math and science books are. And I was like, okay, like, how do they find this out? I'm like, who are these people? Like, what's going on? And so I get on the phone with the lady. She's like, yeah, you just didn't come back last Saturday. And I was like, Debbie? Like, I was like, is this that lady? Like, I was like, yeah, sorry. Well, let me do, okay, 3 books. That's going to be about like, I think it's $416. Like, that's just what I told them. And that didn't include the tax. And I always made sure to include the tax and the shipping. So, because I hated getting the end where like you're like, oh, it's actually $100 more. And they're like, well, we don't want to spend $100 more. So I always included
just drop
that.
it off the top. Yeah.
Just
100%.
drop it, and that's what it is. You know
I
what
don't know
mean?
how people don't do that. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
honestly
either.
crazy. Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, I
That was
don't
my
either.
policy
Drop
too. I
it with,
taught Danny every kid I had. I'm like, you just drop it with the whole price. Go for
yeah,
it. In
just
New Hampshire, there was
memorize
no
the price just
taxes,
like
so that
that.
was great. But like, if you were in a place where there was taxes, just fucking drop the whole thing. Don't give people surprises at the cash collection and just stall yourself. That's
You're
stupid.
just gonna give them reasons to not buy books. You
Yeah.
know?
And that goes for like any advanced sales. Like, I mean, any in the industry, when people do that, where it's like, oh, it's, and then you add like the thing, and then there's like fees and shit, and later on they find out there's like, it's, even if it's $2 more, it's like, no, just tell them what's coming out of their pocket today and let them make that decision
Yeah,
based on that. Yeah, it's stupid too.
100%. 100%. My mom's texting. So then I'm like, okay, so I dropped the price and I'm like, they're not gonna buy. She's like rushing me on the phone too. So I'm like not doing a price build up. She's like, okay. We're sending Pops over with cash right now. I was like, Pops, the guy on the lawnmower. I was like, this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, all right, well, I gotta finish this sit down with this family right now because the daughter had younger kids, right? The daughter that didn't read or write. And so I'm showing them the adventure library. While I'm on the phone with them, I was like, I got to the demo. So I'm through the intro. I had done the buying atmosphere, and I'm like on the phone with Pops and Debbie, or I think her name was Debbie. I can't be 100% sure. This was a year and a half ago. And I take the adventure library book, and like normally you don't pass the books to people because then you're not
Yeah.
in control
In
of
control
the sit down.
situation.
So I
This is
take
advanced
the
sales.
book. Yeah. And so I know all these things because I've been selling for a while, right? And so I'm like on the phone with Debbie, I'm like, this bitch isn't gonna buy. And so I'm like, whatever, like it's $420. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna bring the cash over. And I'm like, all right. And I'm like, no, you're not. She said, let me talk to Pops. And I was like, all right, like done.
He's gonna
Like,
say
this
no.
isn't happening. Yeah,
Bye.
he's gonna
Yeah.
say no. So then I'm like, as I'm on the phone with them, I pass the adventure library book to the son-in-law, and I'm like, okay, just look through this while I'm talking to them. So I'm like talking to them, and he's just like flipping through the adventure library book, like the thing that you're always advised not to. It's 10:30 at night. I had been working for 15 and a half hours at this point. I was exhausted, and I'm like starting to like fall asleep in this. And I'm like writing the like just like I remember that night. I'm like writing the orders, and I'm like, holy crap! And so I'm like, look at this adventure library book. Like, tell me what you think. And so I hang up the phone when she's like, let me talk to Pops. And then she passes. I'm like, what'd you think of the book? He's like, yeah, it's really nice. And I was like, all right, I guess he's buying too. And so I'm like, all right, cool. What'd you like best about it? And I'm like building momentum back to go into the price build up. And so I do the price build up. And then right before so I drop the price, and like right before I get to the emotional, like the close, Pops walks in. I'm
Oh
like,
boy.
this is a crucial moment, my guy. You have the worst timing. Like, and I was like, ah. And so Pops comes in, and they're just waiting after they hear the price. And I'm just like, and he's like, so Pops is like, here's your $420. I was like, well, F, now I gotta write this thing up. So I'm like writing the receipt like super fast. And I was like, oh, sorry, because I just guessed on the phone. I didn't know the actual price of $3. Because you normally sell 4 books or
Yeah.
6 books or math.
You have to look up some other stuff. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I forgot to include the tax, so you'll owe me like $26 when I come back. And he's like, oh, I wish you would have said that. I was like, me too. I was like, my bad. And so I give him the receipt, and he's out. So he just dumps the cash on me. He's out. And I look at the dad of the kids, and like, yeah, so what everyone likes to do, the way I do business.
Instead of going into the close.
So like I just wrote an order for these people. I'm writing an order for you now. And he's just like, yeah. And they just buy too. And I was like, what is going on? And I'm like, they're like, how you doing? Are you pretty tired? I'm like, dude, I'm freaking exhausted right now. I've worked 6 hours this week. Like it was crazy. So there's like 2 sales going on at the same time, and they're not small sales, like one of them was a 3 book and a adventure library, so like pretty decent, like whatever. So, but I was just so tired, and I was almost mad that I had this appointment that night because I was like, dude, like I'm exhausted because I got out of the last house at 9:30. So I got
And
there
they
at
also had
9:45.
Yeah.
So I wrapped up at like 11. And then I wasn't home until like 11:45, you know?
You still
It
have to
was
do
crazy.
stats and shit, and your manager's yelling at you for not doing stat calls, and you're like, bitch.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't really do stat calls my last summer anyway, but it was fine. So it ended up being okay. I hit 966 that week. If you add the lead units I wrote, it was over Mort. So I didn't hit Mort, but I kind of hit Mort. But
We'll
it
give
was
it
a
to
good
you.
time.
We'll give it to
We'll
you
give
because
it.
you are your units and you're more
Yeah, that's right. I am a unit.
1,000 units, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, so it was
That's a
good
great
time.
pony story. You love. We even had a good and then they bought story type of. It's been a minute, so I'm glad we had that.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
good
Let's
good
go.
times all around. Heck yeah.
Let's
Thanks
go.
for having me.
NamJam, this has been a blast. Thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Me too.
If you guys are interested in hearing more about what NamJam is up to, leads that you might have for people who are looking into working with Cardinals after hearing her experience with it, maybe you're looking to switch jobs, maybe it's about time for you to leave the Southwestern world. I'm not encouraging you to do so. Do that as long as you need to. But if you're in the same spot or you find yourself in a similar place, let us know. We can get you guys in touch with them. There's a link below you can click on to apply as well. You just all of our jockeys things are down there, so make sure you click on it. Man, thank you so much, NamJam. Did you have a blast? I had a blast.
I had a blast. I really just was looking forward to hanging out with you all day. I haven't gotten to
Yeah.
come to work meetings in a little bit because of the Cardinal stuff, so it's been good, but I've definitely been missing you guys and the camaraderie that we have here at the Ponytails podcast. So I'm glad that we're hopefully switching meetings to Thursday soon.
Yeah,
So
we will. So just so you can participate. Thank you so much. Also, stay tuned for an update on Bizzler coming up later on. We're going to be on with NamJam again for a much shorter episode, just kind of explaining how Bizzler 2.0 is going to happen. We're about finishing all the details on that by the time this airs. We should probably have them all, but just in case, we'll wait to talk about that more so you guys can find out how to come with us this time, because the first one was a blast. And so on that note, guys, thank you so much. I'm Andres Gamboa. This has been the Ponytails Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.